Yes, yes, yes. I'm looking, and no, we're still on day two. Still on day two, ladies and gentlemen, of Erika Kirk not explaining whether the ASU academic records are incorrect or whether her long-standing story that she graduated with honors from ASU is incorrect. It cannot be both are correct because the academic honors suggest she didn't do it. She didn't graduate summa cum laude. She didn't graduate magna cum laude. She didn't graduate cum laude. Echo? I don't believe there's an echo. I think you're lying. There is an echo. Multiple people are saying. I don't know what could be causing such a thing. Oh, please. No echo. Your stuff is off. Okay, no echo. All right. I don't know what could be causing an echo if there is one. So I don't think there is. I only have one audio source. Okay. So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea why Erika Kirk has claimed variably summa cum laude and magna cum laude in different places. Daisy finally got the records out of Arizona State University. We showed them last night. Not only is there no double major in international relations, there's also no honorary degree. There's no summa cum laude. There's no magna cum laude. There's no cum laude. Now, someone who did graduate with an honorary degree is, or with honors, is Tyler Storm Boyer. He did graduate cum laude. So we know that the cum laude exists. We were able to double check that, but we were not able to find Erika Kirk. Not able to find Erika Kirk. So I don't know. I don't know how long we'll have to wait on that. Someone on Twitter, someone on X asked me, why do you worry about that? What does this have to do with it? It has to do with her being deeply dishonest. I'm telling you, I have found so many things I've held back. Do you guys understand the damage we could do if that's all we were setting out to do? Find every little nitpicking lie she's ever told? I have absolutely enough to bury her on the honesty thing. I think the academic honesty goes right to the heart of who she is. Because it's demonstrable. It's demonstrably false. So anyway, we'll get to all that. Interesting show today. I hope when you hear the open, here's what I'm hoping. I hope when you hear the open, you understand what we're trying to accomplish today and yesterday. I hope you understand what we're trying to accomplish yesterday and today. And here's what I mean by that. It was very important for the TPUSA FedSlop narrative. It was very important to get out in front of any opportunity someone might have to say, hey, I don't think that's the way it happened. It was very important to overwhelm the airwaves, overwhelm social media, overwhelm everything with this consistent and constant narrative that it was Tyler Robinson from the Losey Center, a single gunshot to the neck, the 30-06. He turned himself in. His parents turned him in. It was so important to overwhelm everyone with that narrative. So when you hear the open today, I hope you get an idea of what happens. I hope you get an idea of how difficult it is to face that avalanche of narrative. So we're going to talk about that in a second. I draw attention to the academic dishonesty, in my opinion, because that's something so easy that they could just demonstrate. Take a picture of her degree. It'll say it on the wall. Take a picture of her degree. Don't show it to me. Or send me a transcript from ASU. I'm fine with that as well. Transcript will be fine. But as we showed yesterday, and I had a few people say they didn't quite understand it. I could go back through it. I mean, it's super easy. It would take 10 seconds. So let me just do this real fast because I had several people who said I didn't really understand what you were trying to get at with this whole thing. Here's what I mean by this. You see this woman right here, Sadie Mae Adamek? This is how easy this is going to be. This is the summa cum laude designation. These are people who graduated with 3.8 or better. This is what Erika claims on her LinkedIn page. You see this Sadie Mae Adamek? If you do a control F for Adamek, you're going to see her in two places. You're going to see her here under summa cum laude, and you're going to see her also down here under her normal degree, under economics. But when you do Erika Lane Francve, you only see her down here with the plebes. That's it. That's all it is. Maybe I made it too complicated yesterday when I went through this. If you have, I'll do it with Tyler Boyer. He's actually, I think, in three places. If you have, because he was on the Board of Regents here, but here he is under the cum laude designation. This is Tyler Boyer down here. Here he is under cum laude. And if you go to the next Tyler Boyer, he's down here with the plebes. One of only 4 people to graduate with a degree in Russian, as weird as that is. And so what I'm saying is, Erika Kirk is not being honest. At least these records seem to indicate she's not being honest. She's claiming to have graduated summa cum laude, and the records do not support it. The records don't support it. And if there is evidence that she actually did graduate summa cum laude, I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them. So that's that. That's that. Second thing. I get this comment a lot, and so I'm going to pull it up out of order. I hope you consider I'm not going into the comments right now. I'm going to do the opening in just a second, but I want to address this while we're all here together. I hope you consider shortening your show to 2 hours max. I will not consider that. That's not a consideration. So stop mentioning it. That's not a consideration. 3 hours is honestly hard to keep up with. Then don't watch all 3 hours. Watch an hour, watch 2 hours, watch 30 minutes, watch 45 minutes, watch 5. A shorter stream would make it easier for audiences to stay engaged. This isn't about being easy. This is a high IQ outfit. This is not about easy. We don't do this because it's easy. Watch the full show and fit it into our schedules. Go max. Go max indeed. And I appreciate your concern, but no, I'm not going to tailor the show, because if I do 2 hours, someone else is going to write in and say, you really need to do it at an hour. Candace does this at an hour. Well, now I'm at an hour. And somebody says, you really need to do 30 minutes. You know, Jesse on Fire does his show in 30 minutes. Okay, now I'm at 30 minutes. You really need to do 8 minutes. I mean, why don't I just do the show I do? You're welcome to tune in as long as you can. I would add that the show is a show in 3 parts. It's 3 acts. You get the opening, that lasts 10 to 20 minutes. You get sort of the content section, that's 45 minutes to an hour and a half usually. And then you get the supers at the end, the Q&A, the review, the discussion, the back and forth with the audience. And if you want that, tune in for that. If you want the content, tune in for the content. If you want the open, tune in for the open. But I'm not going to change the show. The show's done pretty well for itself, particularly for a show most of you never heard of a year ago. It's done pretty well for itself. I will add that the godfather of podcasting himself, we've kind of nicknamed him the Godfather. He may not have been the first, but he is certainly, over the last 10 years, 15 years, the most successful. Joe Rogan, his show averages 3 hours. Lex Friedman will go 8. Sean Ryan, 3-4 hours. These guys get millions of views. I'm pretty sure we're fine here. I appreciate your input, but I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to listen to it. All right. Back to where we were. I am actually in a really good mood. I don't know. It may not come off, but I am in a really, really good mood because I think we've got a pretty good show lined up for you tonight. So let me get into the open. Remember, as you're listening to this open, understand how critical this open is to the narrative that Tyler Robinson had anything major to do with what happened. Remember, keep that in mind as we do this open. Keep that in mind as we do this open. All right, here we go. Here's your opening statement. On January 18th, 2019, there was a seemingly minor confrontation at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Almost nobody outside of the immediate vicinity likely noticed it. In a normal and honest environment, it would have remained that way. Instead, the incredibly minor incident exploded into a national controversy that encapsulates how quickly a false narrative can form and be established as fact, even though the narrative is, in reality, fiction. At the center of the national hysteria was a young man named Nicholas Sandmann. Sandmann was a 16-year-old junior from Covington Catholic High School in Kentucky. He quickly and unfairly became the unwitting face of what many perceived as youthful racism and entitlement. The incident involved Sandmann and his classmates. Many were wearing Make America Great Again hats and T-shirts after attending the March for Life in Washington, D.C. Sandmann and his classmates encountered, among others, Native American activist Nathan Phillips and a group of Black Hebrew Israelites. What began as a fragmented video clip quickly coalesced into a damning media narrative that portrayed Sandmann as the aggressor in a racially charged harassment episode. The fuse that exploded the false narrative into a national story was incredibly short. A video clip had surfaced on social media that evening that depicted Sandmann standing face to face with Phillips, who was drumming and chanting. Sandmann, in his red MAGA hat, appeared to smirk, while his classmates chanted and cheered around him. To viewers without context of the entire event or even a longer clip of the video footage, it looked like a privileged group of white teenagers mocking and surrounding an elderly Native American veteran. If true, this obviously would be a perfect and catastrophic storm of racial insensitivity amid America's polarized political climate during the first Trump administration. This small clip went viral almost immediately. It amassed many millions of views on platforms like Twitter and YouTube. Celebrities, politicians, and even journalists piled on, condemning the students as symbols of Trump-era bigotry. For example, actress Alyssa Milano famously tweeted about Sandmann's disgusting behavior. Former CNN host Reza Aslan suggested the minor child Sandmann's face was punchable. He was a 16-year-old kid. Major media outlets scrambled to amplify this narrative. As you can imagine, they did so without waiting for additional context. CNN ran segments labeling the encounter a mob mentality incident where the students harassed the veteran Phillips. The Washington Post published articles describing the boys as surrounding and even taunting the elderly Native American, with headlines emphasizing the MAGA hats as emblems of division. The New York Times framed it as an explosive convergence of race, religion, and ideological beliefs, drawing parallels to broader national tensions. Even the students' own school decried Sandmann's conduct and issued a swift apology based entirely on the initial footage. The rush was driven by the clip's alignment with pre-existing stereotypes. You had a white, Catholic, Trump-supporting teen as the antagonist in a story of minority oppression. As the media outlet Vox noted, Vox was a thing at one point. As the media outlet Vox noted, it became the nation's biggest story, a microcosm of identity politics where interpretations clashed and inherent uncertainty in the footage itself. Yet the actual facts painted a far more nuanced picture that defied this simplistic framing. Longer videos totaling well over an hour and captured from multiple angles began to emerge in the first 24 to 48 hours after the incident. These longer videos revealed that the confrontation did not at all begin with the students targeting the elderly Native American. Instead, the Covington group of school students had been waiting for their bus when they were aggressively taunted by the Black Hebrew Israelites. Black Hebrew Israelites, if you don't know, are a fringe group known for provocative street preaching. The Black Hebrew Israelites hurled insults, called the teens crackers and school shooters, and hurled gay slurs at the teens. The group even threatened the teens with violence. In response, the students began chanting their school cheers to drown out the abuse. Sandmann later described this tactic as an explicit attempt to de-escalate without engaging directly. Phillips, the elderly Native American who initially claimed he intervened to diffuse tension between the groups, could be seen in the longer video continually pounding on a drum and approaching the students. He walked right up to them, stared them directly in the face, stopping mere inches from Sandmann. Contrary to initial reports, Sandmann did not block Phillips' path or initiate the standoff at all. In fact, the evidence was clear when it was finally seen in its totality. Sandmann stood still. He maintained what he called a nervous smile in an attempt to avoid escalation. Phillips initially had told the media outlets like the Washington Post that he felt blocked and even feared for his safety. These and similar statements were prominently featured in the early coverage. However, the full footage showed precisely the opposite. It was the students who were blocked. Further, despite being reported as fact early on, the video was clear. The students did not chant anything like build the wall or hurl any racist slurs. Again, even though it was reported as fact. Despite these revelations, the initial narrative had already taken root. The initial narrative had momentum. It was fueled by confirmation bias and the speed of digital dissemination. Media outlets like CNN and the New York Times issued updates and editor's notes admitting the need for a fuller picture, but the damage was done. Sandmann and his family began receiving death threats. There were online mobs calling for doxing and even expulsion. Covington Catholic High School closed temporarily due to safety concerns, and the students faced widespread vilification. The fallout was so severe, Sandmann had to turn to legal action to clear his name. And this was despite the full video being available for review within a couple of days of the incident. In February of 2019, Sandmann filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit against the Washington Post, alleging bias that relied on Phillips' unverified claims. Similar suits followed against the CNN, NBC, and other broadcasters who aired the coverage. A federal judge initially dismissed the Washington Post case, ruling the articles protected under the articles were protected under the First Amendment. Sandmann, of course, appealed. CNN later settled for an undisclosed amount, followed by the Washington Post and then NBC. These outcomes validated the claims of journalistic malpractice. Critics argued the media prioritized a politically expedient story over verification. As Reason magazine's Robbie Soave wrote, the outlet's sins were compounded by continuing to malign the teens even after the full context emerged. An investigation launched by the boys' school exonerated the students and found no evidence of racist conduct. Yet, despite all of the facts in his favor, and despite the lawsuits, and despite the settlements, the initial narrative that Nicholas Sandmann and his classmates had been racist aggressors continues to linger in public memory. Such is the power of early narrative formation. So, why did the narrative form in the first place? And why did it persist despite contradicting facts? Well, for several reasons. First, the viral clip fit a bias that was already present. This is especially easy to do when incomplete information is sort of hammered into familiar tropes like white privilege and the victimhood of minorities. As the Associated Press put it in a piece analyzing how the coverage got the story so terribly wrong, the response turned vicious because it so perfectly fit the prevailing white privilege narrative. Social media's algorithm-driven outrage amplified this. These algorithms can be gamed as they reward sensationalism over nuance and certainly over accuracy. Second, the ideological echo chambers also played a role. Mainstream media leans left on a lot of social issues. And these left-leaning mainstream media outlets jumped on the story and leaned really hard into the progressive angle. There's also this 24/7 news cycle. It incentivizes speed over accuracy. In its post-mortem of what went wrong in the story, The Atlantic admitted the media botched the story as outlets rushed to use the edited footage to support their own biased interpretations. This story certainly isn't the only time this has happened. It's not the only time the media has drilled into the public consciousness a story that just isn't true. And but for the existence of the longer videos and clear audio that exonerated Sandmann and his classmates, the entire world would have accepted the narrative that the teen boys were wrong to act in such a racist manner towards innocent minorities caught up in their virulent racism. That would have been the narrative. In fact, because we have the longer footage and because the boys were in fact exonerated, the entire incident exemplifies how media narratives can defy facts, yet endure because of emotional appeal and institutional inertia. Sandmann, who for a short time exemplified the nearly perfect villain, eventually was vindicated, but the scar remains. The Sandmann saga is now a cautionary tale, to be sure, but it also illuminates how easily media narratives can be set in stone. And without the availability of bulletproof evidence to the contrary, the Sandmann saga is illustrative of how quickly fiction can be cemented as fact. And that is your opening statement. And here's why I bring it up in this context today. I've been looking for a time to do the Sandmann saga, but here's why it matters today. There was a rush very early on after the Charlie Kirk assassination. There was a mad rush to cement a narrative. The narrative had many facets. One, this was a lone gunman. This was a lone gunman. Security was very tight in and around Charlie Kirk, but security on the outskirts was very lax. So that was kind of that. You had to have that narrative cemented in order to have this lone gunman possible. So that's number one. The second narrative was Charlie Kirk got shot. You had to have people say it over and over and over and over and over again so that it became fact, even though as you look closer at it, it doesn't make any sense. Certainly not with a 30-06. But if you rush out of the gate and you immediately nail that down, he was shot, he was shot, he was shot, he was shot. You even see Tyler Robinson's defense attorneys conceding in pleadings that he was shot. I think it's a huge mistake. Huge mistake. So you had to have lax security on the outskirts, even if it was tight up front. You had to have the gun, because then you have the lone gunman and you have access. And the third thing you had to have is this political basis for the shooting. You couldn't have this idea that we didn't have a motive. We had to have a political motive. We had to get, as we always do, we had to divide the country into left and right. You see this most, not blaming boomers for everything, but you see this a lot in the older generation. They love to talk Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats, the left always blames those dadgum rascally Republicans. The older Republicans always blame the Democrats. All those dadgum Democrats. You'll just never believe what they've been up to. Anything that goes wrong, it's the other party. Their party can do no wrong. The other party can do no right. The reality is much more complicated than that, much more nuanced, much more complex. But if you can get people to rally into their respective bases, if you can get people to run out there on behalf of their respective parties, so you get on camera a bunch of lunatics, you get on X and you find the worst of society out there celebrating the death of a 31-year-old father of two, you find out their politics are left-wing, and you blame the entire left for that mentality. See, it was a leftist. And then you dig the right in. This is what the left does. They're out of control. They're nuts. And so you begin to dig this down. You begin to really drill down on these three facts. You have to have a left versus right narrative. You have to have motive, a political motive, and you have to have a lax security measure on the perimeter. We saw all three of these themes immediately kick into overdrive right afterwards. We'll talk about some of them tonight. Now, I hear your feedback. I always listen to your feedback. And I got some feedback on last night's show, and I'm taking it into consideration tonight. That's why I'm giving you a little more explanation early tonight before I dig into the content. Because I hear people saying, hey, it's a little confusing. I don't understand the role Hunter Kozak played. Well, we'll talk about it. I don't understand who these peripheral players were and why they matter. Why did his dad matter? Why did his granddad matter? We'll refresh on that. And then we'll go in tonight and we'll talk about some of the left and right. Originally, let me see here. I had this flow chart pulled up, if you remember. I'll go ahead and re-pull it back up here because we'll talk about the rest of them. But I had this flow chart pulled up, and I'll explain why this matters. Here's Hunter Kozak. Hunter Kozak was the last guy. He's right here in the middle. He was the last guy to talk to Charlie Kirk. He was the one that asked the question. Tonight we'll answer, how did he end up as the last guy who asked the question? There's an answer to that. We know the answer to that. It's on the record. It's conveniently been kind of cast aside, but we have an answer for how he ended up asking the transgender shooter question at the exact moment Charlie Kirk was taken down. We have the answer to that question. And we know now from last night why his dad matters. His dad is a producer. His dad is a Hollywood type. He comes from Hollywood. That's why we talked about Elliot Kozak. They understand production. They understand media. They understand narrative. They understand these things I'm telling you. His dad, Steve, works for Jimmy Kimmel. We'll talk about Jimmy Kimmel tonight. Jimmy Kimmel's aired on many stations, local ABC stations by Nexstar and NewsNation. We'll talk about them tonight. And then we'll get down here with Jeb Jacobi, Phil Lyman, Tiffany Barker, and Taylor Beldine. We'll talk about these tonight. But the reason we're doing this is because we have to examine if we're going to overcome it, just like we talked about with Nicholas Sandmann. If you're going to overcome a narrative that you believe is fiction, you have to show how the narrative was set in place to begin with. We have to go back to the basics. That's what we're doing. We have to go back to the basics, and we're going to do that. We're going to do that. So let's open by figuring out, how did a random 28-year-old TikToker end up as the last person Charlie Kirk spoke to? No, I don't want to take your 10-minute survey. So this is a September 14th article in Us Weekly. Who is Hunter Kozak? 5 things to know about the TikToker who was the last person to talk to Charlie Kirk. And we slide down here and we see Kozak, who runs a political TikTok account, was approved by Kirk's team to ask the political commentator a question at the event and ended up being the second person in line. Kirk was shot soon after Kozak's question about gun violence in the United States, making the young influencer the last person to talk to Kirk before his untimely death. Kozak's question was approved by Kirk's staff ahead of the event, meaning Charlie Kirk's staff was aware that Hunter Kozak was going to ask a question about trans violence. When they heard he's going to ask a question about trans violence, he told ABC, a staff member, he disagreed with Kirk and had a question prepared. According to the influencer, he was told he would be the second person in line to pose a question to Kirk. This is relevant information because it begins to chip away at this narrative that it was totally random that Hunter Kozak ends up asking a question about trans shooting violence at the exact moment Charlie Kirk is taken down, and the narrative will begin to form that it had to do with trans violence. It had to do with a trans storyline. Because again, the official FedSlop narrative is that Tyler Robinson, who was living with a trans roommate, was frustrated by the political atmosphere Charlie Kirk was fostering around the trans community, and he wasn't going to take it anymore. Well, you know who else was frustrated about the political atmosphere that Charlie Kirk was fostering around the trans community? Hunter Kozak. The two were related in that respect. Now, it would be totally random if Hunter just got there early, camped out, didn't tell him what question he was going to ask. There was no context for how he ended up in that line. And it was just a total coincidence that they happened to be asking that question at the exact same time. That would be weird, but it would be a total coincidence. But if you start to look at the totality, look at the 1 hour plus long video that Nicholas Sandmann put out, and you start to see a different story emerge. No longer do we have this random occurrence. We have a planned event that took place. The planned event that took place is, we have a guy that's going to ask him a trans violence question. He needs to go second. Why? He just does. Now you begin to see how this narrative begins to be banged out, that this had to do with trans violence. You get to see that this narrative really starts to take shape very early on. I mean, at the moment of the Big Bang itself, this narrative is already being put into place. It's already being laid in concrete. And as the Nicholas Sandmann story shows us, once that narrative is in place, it is very difficult to shake it loose. Nearly impossible. Without bulletproof, and I use that on purpose, without bulletproof evidence to the contrary. Nicholas Sandmann was lucky somebody was rolling a videotape for an hour. Tyler Robinson's not so lucky. There is no hour-long videotape. So let's go to an interview that hold on, where did my link go? There we go. Let's go to an interview with Hunter Kozak. Let me show you here what he tells 60 Minutes. Told 60 Minutes the Kirk's team had pre-approved his question for the event, and he was placed second in line to ask it. He said he feels a weight in being the last person to have spoken to Kirk. So again, he told 60 Minutes that Kirk's team had pre-approved his question for the event. Now, let's go to the 60-minute recording itself, and you can see the date of the 60-minute recording. I think you can see the date. Yeah, right there. You can see that this 60-minute recording was dated on the lower right-hand side of your screen right here on September 17th, 2025. So we're inside of a week. There's two names here that they're interviewing. Hunter Kozak is one of them. He's on the left over here, and there's a Jacobi. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But this is the recording for 60 Minutes where he tells 60 Minutes that the Kirk team had pre-approved his question and placed him second in line. So no longer is it a random occurrence. We've lost the random occurrence aspect of it. That's out the window. But when that random occurrence fact flew out the window and nobody talked about it, it got lost and it didn't become part of the lore. Here we are 5.5 months later, and most people don't know that question was pre-approved. So that's the Hunter Kozak part of it. That's kind of a recap of last night's Hunter Kozak part. I want to remind you real quickly that Hunter Kozak's cousin works for Channel 5, which is not a news channel 5. This is a blog. This is a YouTube channel. This is him. Notice on the Chiron down here, it doesn't say Liam Kozak. It just says Liam. And he's the C5, Channel 5 pre-production manager. But it doesn't say Liam Kozak. It just says Liam. And again, we talked about last night that if Liam Kozak is the guy on camera covering the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and this is footage from the Charlie Kirk Memorial. We can go around and see all the footage they took from the Charlie Kirk Memorial. This is him interviewing people. That's a commercial, actually. But you see, this is kind of a prepackaged event. I have no idea why this guy's in a ski mask. I don't watch this channel, so I'm not sure. But you can see he's going around the memorial. He's interviewing people. He's talking to people. But when it comes time to introduce him for the camera, when it comes time to put his name on the Chiron, he just goes by Liam. He doesn't go by Liam Kozak. Again, part of the notion that we don't want necessarily to point out the Kozak connection to Charlie Kirk's death. We don't want people drilling down on the fact that, whoa, wasn't that convenient? Wonder if that was pre-planned. No, we're going to keep that part out of it. So there's the Liam component of it. There's the cousin that popped up. So if you haven't seen last night's a great show, you go back and watch it. But I'm just giving you a little bit of a context here. Now, we're going to introduce a few new characters now. We got to get into a few new characters. The first one we're going to get into is a guy named Chanson Kozak. Chanson Kozak. This is Hunter Kozak's little brother, Chanson Kozak. Chanson Kozak has a normal life. I mean, just normal teenage life. But there's this prom photo here. Chanson Kozak is at a prom, and he's there with a woman named Taylor Beldine. They've got a few pictures together. They look like they had a great time, great looking kids. I'm sure they had a blast. Not accusing Chanson of doing anything wrong. I'm just pointing out that this gal, this Taylor Beldine, knows the Kozak family. She knows them. We'll figure out if that matters in just a second. Because Taylor Beldine sits down in the immediate aftermath for an interview about the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I will play a clip of it here now, just to give you an idea of what they talked about. It's important to note that this interview is on a company called NewsNation. You guys remember when we were growing up, the Cubs played on WGN? I'm pretty sure NewsNation is the successor entity to WGN. We all had, if you had any basic cable, you had WGN in your house growing up. I mean, it was a nationwide station. It was out of Chicago, and they played all the Cubs games. I'm pretty sure NewsNation is the successor entity to that organization. But here is just a little bit of, this is Taylor Beldine on the right. We'll talk about this woman on the left here in just a moment. But I just want you to see that in the immediate aftermath of the Charlie Kirk being taken down, this young girl who is connected to the Hunter Kozak family by way of her brother is one of the witnesses that is trotted out over and over and over in different media outlets in order to begin to establish the
for all the kids, and they made us all leave. Everybody fell to the ground first. Then we stood up to run out, and people just yelled, "Charlie's down." They shot Charlie. Charlie's down.
Tiffany, at what point did it register with you that it was actually a shot?
It probably took 3 seconds.
Again, we're establishing very early on he was shot. No question about it. They don't know anything about a 30-06 yet. They don't know who did it, but we're still already in the very early phases establishing this reality. Charlie Kirk was shot. And if you remember the very earliest indications, even within 26 seconds of the Big Bang, you have Terrell Farnsworth doing selfies to a camera saying, Charlie was shot. They shot Charlie. They shot Charlie. They shot Charlie. He's dead. This was something that had to be pushed into the public consciousness immediately. Immediately. There was a deployment of a lot of witnesses who just echoed this over and over and over and over and over. You may not have even realized you were falling victim to Nicholas Sandmann being labeled a racist because those are the only facts you had. But if you look back on it, did you see anybody in those initial few hours or days establish he was shot, or did you just get told over and over and over he was shot? Did you just get told every time you turned around that Charlie Kirk had been shot? It was on every news channel. It was on every newspaper. It was on every Twitter feed. It was just a constant echo chamber. He got shot. He got shot. He got shot.
Because it was silence, and then people just started like screaming and crying, and people fell to the ground. It's kind of the reaction was like, and you kind of think when you're no, and will testify that the power of God, I prophesy that he's coming back. These are the last, going to be more.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to play this part. Hold on. So now you have to layer in this right versus left, this religious narrative. So here is Tiffany Barker, who we'll talk about in just a moment, but Taylor Beldine will talk, but I want to play this part of her talking real fast.
But I do know and will testify that the power of God is real. It is real. And it gave me instant peace to know that God is over all of this, and to know that it's all I prophesy that he's coming back. These are the last days. These are calamities. Charlie gave his whole entire life testifying of Jesus Christ. His last tweet, Erika's last tweet, is all about Jesus Christ. And that's what he wants us to do, is turn to Christ. So when people right now are looking, who's the next Charlie Kirk? Where's our hero? Where's our hero? We have him. It's Jesus Christ. And Charlie told us that the entire time. His whole life's mission was about Jesus Christ.
And again, if you don't recall, there was this instant, basically God wanted Charlie dead. God's going to, I mean, it was an unbelievably powerful narrative that was coming out. I think it was a little manipulative, but I wanted to play that because it is part of the narrative formation. But now they go to the younger girl and they ask her what she heard and what she saw in this. I want you to just listen to her version.
From that moment.
My initial thought was just shock. I was so scared. I was like, oh no, I was thinking it's a gunshot, but then I was thinking it's in Utah, so it's maybe just a firework, because no one was dropping to the ground just yet. And then everyone started screaming and freaking out, so I knew it was a gunshot, and I was so scared, and I had no idea what to do. And
so how did she know it was a gunshot? Because people were screaming and freaking out. So I just knew it was a gunshot. I just knew it was a gunshot. We'll come back to a little bit of what she had to say in a little bit, because there's a second thing that sort of bubbles to the surface that we'll circle back to in just a little bit. But I'm just giving you an idea of the type of people they were running out to do these interviews. There was a very tight-knit group of people. There was a very tight-knit group of people. For example, the woman you heard from on the left, we know how we know the woman on the right. We're well aware of how we know her. We know her because she went to prom with Hunter Kozak's brother. So there's a connection between the last person to ask the question to Charlie Kirk about trans violence at the exact moment that we're told a guy mad about trans violence is shooting Charlie Kirk. So we've got that connection. That's how the girl on the right's connected. What about the woman on the left? Where did she come from? Well, her name is Tiffany Clausen. So I will show you real quickly. Or Tiffany Barker, excuse me. I'll show you real quickly who Tiffany Barker is. This is her speaking at another event. The greatest manifestation of the Lord's power, miracles, Sisters of Liberty. Well, if you slide down here, we find out that Tiffany is the sister of Natalie Clausen. Natalie Clausen was Phil Lyman's running mate for governor. She was going to be the lieutenant governor if Phil Lyman had won, the election for governor. So there she is. So the woman on the left is connected to Phil Lyman via her sister. The young girl on the right is connected to Hunter Kozak via his brother. So what we have is, as we're establishing this early narrative, we have tight control over who is in a position to articulate this early narrative we're seeking to establish. Remember, we want people to know he was shot. We want people to know the security was such that somebody could easily get into a position to shoot him. And we want someone to know that it had this political motive and this religious outcome. Very important to establishing the narrative very early on. So that was Phil Lyman's running mate. If you don't believe me, that the sister was named the running mate, if you don't believe, just trust me. I could pull up the website, but it's a news site and they are cancer. I mean, they're just absolute death. The pop-ups everywhere, videos start rolling. It's news sites and car sites. If you have a used car or a new car website, your site sucks. I guarantee it. I don't have to go to it. It sucks. And if you have a news site, it sucks. I don't even have to go to it. It's terrible. I can tell you already, it sucks. Now, so we've gotten the flavor of the type of people they're running out. For the sake of time, let's just assume these people did a lot of interviews. They did them on NewsNation. They did them on 60 Minutes. They did them on Fox News. They do a lot of these news hits. But you remember on the 60 Minutes interview, it wasn't just Hunter Kozak. There was some random other guy there with him named Jeb Jacobi. I have that clip of 60 Minutes right now with Jeb Jacobi and Hunter Kozak. I will play that now because I think it's important that we have this random guy who ends up on 60 Minutes. That's a hot property. I mean, CBS isn't what it once was, but it's still CBS News. Here is CBS giving Jeb Jacobi some airtime.
At the event, he was part of Turning Point USA.
He meant an inspiration to me. I watched his campus debates where he was able to communicate with other individuals in a pretty professional way when it came to debates about pretty much anything. And I just found that admirable.
Yeah, this is working. Hey, Charlie.
Hunter Kozak, who would identify himself as a liberal, was there to debate Charlie Kirk, and tragically was the person who was speaking with Kirk at the very moment that the shot was fired.
Hopefully we're going to have a little bit more disagreement.
Yours was the last question that Charlie Kirk ever heard.
Yeah, there's a strange amount of weight to that.
When I see this, I think, what are they doing together? Like they other than the fact that they were both at the event, they really don't have a similar reason for being on 60 Minutes. Hunter Kozak has this outsized role. He was the last. I've got a 2-part series named after him, yesterday and today. He was the last human being to talk to Charlie Kirk. That's a huge deal. Put him on 60 Minutes. Let's hear what he has to say. Jeb Jacobi was just a guy who was there. He didn't talk to Charlie Kirk. He was just there. Why is he sitting next to Hunter Kozak? What is his role? How did he get there? Who is this guy? Well, let's figure out if we see him some other places. Because we might see him some other places. Here's one place we see Jeb Jacobi. This is immediately after the shooting. You have Jeb Jacobi here on the right. You have this Phil Lyman. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Here on the left, we're going to have to do a different show on Phil Lyman, but we'll introduce him tonight. This is Phil Lyman here on the left. This is Jeb Jacobi on the right. This woman here counts down 1, 2, 3, go, or 3, 2, 1, go. I don't remember which. And then he goes into full acting mode. This is this Jeb Jacobi. he begins to lay the narrative down that Charlie Kirk was shot. This is a video that went absolutely viral. We'll show you that as well. But watch this take place.
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot.
Watch Phil Lyman's head as this guy emphasizes, I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. He has 3 emphatic syllables. Watch Phil Lyman's head as he says these 3 syllables and see if you can see what Phil Lyman's doing as he says, I saw Charlie Kirk get shot.
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot.
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. But we'll let it continue playing because you got to see the different angles of this.
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. He collapsed in his seat. He fell over to the side. He was carried off.
What are they trying to establish by this? He got shot. I saw him get shot. Do you remember Jack Posobiec was very early on Twitter? I saw Charlie Kirk get shot by a leftist. I saw a leftist shoot Charlie Kirk. There was this consistent drilling into your head of this narrative that it was in fact a firearm and it was in fact a bullet and it was in fact shot by a leftist and it was over trans violence. This all was an important narrative to drill down immediately. This had to be put into place. I'll play it one more time, then I'm going to let it continue going on. But watch his head as he does it. He almost mouths the words.
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. He collapsed in his seat. He fell over to the side. He was carried off. He had blood on his arms. He had blood on his shirt. He was dragged off and carried out of the venue. There was a gunshot that rang out. No, I'm not okay. I saw someone get shot today. Yeah. So. I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. He collapsed in his seat. He fell over to the side. He was carried off. He had blood on his arms. He had blood on his shirt. He was dragged off and carried out of the venue. There was a gunshot that rang out.
You okay?
I'm not okay. I saw someone get shot today.
Yeah, dumb question.
Is that a little weird to you? It seems a little weird to me. It seems a little pre-planned, maybe. It seemed a little rehearsed. He's sitting there normally, and then he's not freaking out. He's not huffing and puffing. He's not pacing back and forth. He's not animated. He's just sitting there while the woman counts down. 1, 2, 3, go. I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. No, I'm not okay. I saw a man get shot. Like I'm expecting him to go into like full zoo mode. Start throwing his excrement at the screen. But you see why they did it. You see what's happening here. You're not supposed to see the rehearsing. You're not supposed to see the countdown. You're not supposed to see Phil Lyman. I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. You're not supposed to see that part. You're just supposed to see that second part where it's just, oh, I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. It's crazy. He got shot. Did I tell you he got shot? He got shot. There was a gunshot. We'll talk about everybody's first impression, whether or not they really thought it was a gunshot before the narrative coalesced, and why maybe it was so important to get out ahead of this and make sure we released a lot of footage from the scene in the immediate days afterwards, establishing he did in fact get shot. We'll see this because there are a lot of people at the scene who seem to not think he got shot, or at least seem to think they didn't hear a gunshot. We'll look at that later. Just pause for a second because we have more we have to talk about with Mr. Jacobi. Because here we see a different version, I guess we can call it a version. This is before the incident. This is before, not the incident. This is before the video we just saw. This is Phil Lyman's belly here on the left. This is Jeb Jacobi here in front of us with the black backpack, the red shirt, the white ball cap. And this is our countdown lady here in the red shirt, brunette hair. And we'll watch the exchange here between Jeb Jacobi and Phil Lyman.
I just left. I'd gone up top. I was right down the back at the end of this building and I was walking through the door and it's like boom, boom, right behind me.
There was one shot that I heard one shot.
Again, Phil Lyman, who was also there. Phil Lyman was there. He said, I just left. I heard boom, boom. And he snaps his head around and said, I heard one shot. It was one shot. It was one shot. I heard one shot.
I just left. I'd gone up top. I was right down the back at the end of this building and I was walking through the door and it's like boom, boom, right behind me.
There was one shot that I heard one shot.
Seems pretty insistent that it was one shot. And he seems like it's an important fact. I mean, maybe he's there. Now, hang on just a second. Here is Jeb Jacobi one more time. We're going to see him one more time. This is from Adam Bartholomew's famous Life is Driving video. For those of you who remembered me in the very early days of the Charlie Kirk investigation, Adam Bartholomew actually came on with me to talk about his video. He was extremely aggressive and shady, and it was weird. But I'm not going to talk about any of that tonight. I'm not accusing Adam Bartholomew of being involved in any way whatsoever. Sure, he was just there by total chance. But I want to play a little bit of the footage he caught. Now, the audio lags a little bit here. It's not me, it's them. But this is Jeb Jacobi once again trying to give his version of events, and then he's interrupted in doing so. I just realized I'm pulling a Barron. It won't happen again. Guys, we're too far into this. You guys will see immediately what I've been watching as you've been watching the side of my head here. But I want to point out, this is a good opportunity since I screwed up anyway. I want to pull out. Got 8 kids. I want to point out that, that he asks a clarifying question. Adam Bartholomew walks up to him and says, did you see what happened? And the most important part of this entire clip to me is that Jeb Jacobi asks a clarifying question. Are you recording? Are you recording? So watch the exchange here between Adam Bartholomew and Jeb Jacobi.
Did you guys see what happened?
Yes, I saw him. Are you recording this?
Yes, you're live right now. Well, we're recording. I don't know if we're live because of the cell service.
So,
hang on.
I was standing in probably the third. Okay. I was standing from probably the third row in the bottom. I saw hit. I heard the shot ring out. I looked to my left, and then I looked over to my right. I saw him slump over in his chair forward. He slumped over. He had blood coming from the left side of his neck down his shirt, and he slumped over and he was carried off. Get off me! Get off me!
Emotions are running high right now.
So you have this very strange exchange. This is a very strange exchange. You have, on the one hand, Adam Bartholomew trying to do a journalistic job at this moment and figure out, what did you see? What did you see? And then you have him ask this clarifying question. Are you recording? Why does it matter? There's a man asking you what you saw. Who cares if it's being recorded? Is that going to change your opinion? Is it going to change how you act? Then he starts telling the story in some detail. And the story goes, not only this time did I see him get shot, now I saw blood, I saw him slump over, I saw his eyes, he's really laying into the narrative, but I saw him get shot. He's repeating it. But we have this weird moment where other people come over and they're like, hey, we're not talking about this right now. These are campaign volunteers, or these are event volunteers from TPUSA from Utah Valley University. They come over and say, hey, bud, we're not doing this. Now, I don't know if there was some sort of an informal agreement where they weren't supposed to be going on the record, weren't supposed to be going on camera, or why they tried to interfere with him and stop him. But it was important for Jeb Jacobi to begin getting this story out immediately. So who is Jeb Jacobi? Why is he playing a central role in this story? He just happened to be there. There were 3,000 other people who happened to be there. They're not on 60 Minutes. There were 3,000 other people there. They're not on Adam Bartholomew's Life is Driving video. A few of them are. There were 3,000 other people there. They're not all sitting there with Phil Lyman nodding ahead as I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. They're not all nodding along. So let's figure out who this guy is. Let's head over to Instagram, the all-seeing, all-knowing eye of the internet. This is Jeb Jacobi's Instagram following. Do not harass this kid. Don't contact this kid. Please leave all these people alone. We are professionals here. I'm doing this without contacting these people. It says here he's from Sudbury, Massachusetts. Well, that's a little unusual because he's in Utah Valley University. Kind of far away. I figured guy must have just gone to college, right? Must have just up and decided, I will go to Utah Valley University. Well, not exactly. Not exactly. Because if you look at his LinkedIn, not only do you discover he's currently living in Orem, Utah as a third-year student at Utah Valley University, which is what we see here, student at UVU, Orem, Utah. You find out he's from Boston, Massachusetts. He's 4 years of cashier experience. He's 23 years old. You get some ideas of where he worked, but then you see he goes to this Oak Grove School. Oak Grove School. Where's that? That must be in Massachusetts because that's where he's from. I'll submit to you, his parents also still live in Massachusetts. So you would assume this Oak Grove School is some kind of Massachusetts program he's involved in. Well, you would assume incorrectly because I will open this up and show you that Oak Grove School is not at all a Massachusetts-based school, but Oak Grove School is, in fact, in Utah. They are based in Utah. This is a committed to building academic and lifelong success by fostering community, creativity, and curiosity through exploration, movement, and hands-on learning for all students. And you can see, there it is right there. It's in and around the Utah Valley University. This is Ogden, Utah. Utah Valley University is just down the road, south of Salt Lake. It's right in this area down in here somewhere. So it's just up the road. So this guy goes to a boarding school in Utah, in Ogden, near an Air Force base, near active intelligence community outfits. This is where he is. This is what he's doing. These are the types of programs they have. They have adolescent and young adult program, transitional living program, advanced transitional living program. They have therapeutic services. They have different academic programs. This is Oak Grove School. Group therapy, academic resources. I don't know what he's doing here. I don't know why he went for 4 years to Oak Grove School when his parents live in Massachusetts. I don't know the history of the school and all that. I mean, we're going to look into it, but only so many hours in a day. But this is a Catholic guy from Boston, or at least his Instagram says he's Catholic from Boston, from Sudbury, whose parents send him 2,500 miles away to go to high school in Utah. It's a nonprofit, it's accredited private school, and then they have these program homes where the kids live. And I'll show you what this program home is. This is the residential program home. So we have Jeb Jacobi, again, who becomes a central player in this, so it's worth looking. Who is this guy? Comprehensive social, emotional, and behavioral support. Assists student development and implementation of pro-social skills in areas such as communication, relationships, emotion management, and self-confidence. They go through stages. You have a residential 1 where they reside in a structured, supportive, home-like environment. Residential 2, They have additional community access and opportunities to demonstrate application of skills they learned during stage 1. Then they go to advancement. They advance through the steps by earning required daily points consistently, completing treatment step assignments. Then you have this supervision and support. They're monitored at the academy. This is a weird program to me. This doesn't seem like a normal high school experience. And he's not done. Believe it or not, he's not done. There's more Jeb Jacobi to come because he shows back up in the mirror the following day. This is one day after the shooting now. We're on day 2. I guess if shooting is day 1, we're on day 2 here. This is Jeb Jacobi talking to More News. This is the Mirror, U.S.
Panicking. It was just an awful experience. Like, I don't think anyone should ever have to go through an experience like that. It's hard. It's awful. Like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. Like, I'm going to therapy. Like, I'm talking with my family. I've had 150 people message me in like a single day, just asking me how I'm doing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And how are you doing? Like, how is today compared to yesterday? And like, what's kind of going through your head? I know you touched on the therapy, talking to family.
I mean, it's like, how could we even let this happen? This was a university that was founded in 1941, right before the beginning of the Second World War. And right after, like, many, many years later, like, if you look at the history of UU, we've never had anything like this. This is one of the safest universities in the country. And it's like, you know, you go on the Wikipedia page and you scroll down, you go to the very bottom, and the last thing that shows up is the shooting of Charlie Kirk. This became the event. This became the university where Charlie Kirk was killed. Like, this is not like we're on national news, and this is like a huge thing. We never expected anything like this to happen. He had gone to many universities across the country that were way more differing in ideologies compared to what Charlie's message was, and way more extreme. And yet it happened here, which is very surprising. I never expected anything like this to happen.
It's just interesting to me that these same people keep showing up on all these same news organizations. Like, I don't know if there's some sort of pool where you put your name in, you say, I'd like to be interviewed. But if you look these same people up, Tiffany Barker, Taylor Beldine, Jeb Jacobi, Hunter Kozak. I mean, Hunter Kozak obviously is the exception because he was the last guy to talk to Charlie Kirk, so he gets a pass in terms of lots of interviews. Now, how he ended up as the last guy to talk to Charlie Kirk and how it just coincidentally seemed to mirror the motivation, that's scheduled for debate. We can talk about that. But the rest of these people, it just seems like it's the same people cycling before the news over and over and over and over and over again. We're just getting a steady dose of the same people saying the same thing. Now, I would argue that if you wanted to put this production in effect, when I was talking to Sam Parker, and Sam Parker, if you don't know on Twitter, base Sam Parker, he does a great job. He helped do a lot of this research. Daisy helped do a lot of this research. This was truly a group effort to put these two shows together. There's a lot of clips to track down. You have to figure out which ones are in, which ones are out, which ones are the best examples. You can't just sit here and play all the Jeb Jacobi clips. You can't sit here and play all the Tiffany Barker clips. You can't sit here and play all the Taylor Beldine clips because there's a lot of them. You just have to play a few and then just trust the audience knows there's a lot out there. These were the spokespeople of this performance. But if you want to establish this narrative, if you want to put on this performance, and you want to have these same spokespeople trotting out there over and over and over, a guy like Jeb Jacobi's gold. He literally was trained from high school to be obedient, to follow directions, to live in a special school. This school, as best I can tell, it has an autism component and maybe a little troubled student component. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But you get a lot of one-on-one therapy with these people. You get a lot of one-on-one. And if you wanted to really get inside someone's head, that's a great school to recruit from. I'm not suggesting that's what happened to the young man. I'm just saying that would be an ideal place to recruit from if you were trying to get inside somebody and have someone on standby when you need them. One more Jeb Jacobi clip, because this is going to help us transition to a new phase of this investigation. Got one more Jeb Jacobi clip. Just like the Taylor Beldean and Tiffany Barker interview, we're back on NewsNation. Remember, this is that WGN successor organization. We're back on NewsNation. And I'm going to play this for you because this will help us transition out of the individuals and into maybe NewsNation's role in establishing this narrative, because they were really hot and heavy on this, and they kept featuring the same people over and over and producing these clips.
Jacobi is a student at Utah Valley University and joins us now. Jeb, thank you so much for being with us.
Again, though, how do you end up as you're just one random guy at the event? How do you end up on NewsNation and on 60 Minutes and on The Mirror and on all these other outfits? You just happened to be there. There were thousands of kids there we've never heard from. But the same few people we hear from over and over and over and over again on all the different outlets. But I digress.
Been a week. We are just not equipped to see the image that you saw with your own eyes a week ago. How are you doing?
It's been an interesting couple of days. I've been seeing a therapist and I've been talking with my family. My work actually reached out to me the day of the event. And so they provided me with a therapist because of how concerned they were about the incident. I've had about 150 to 160 people message me and just check in on me, make sure that I'm doing okay. It's like, I think the hardest thing is that I can never get that image out of my mind of watching him collapse in his seat and being carried off. And it's just a heartbreaking moment. Like, no person should ever have to witness that or see that. And it's just so utterly sad. And I don't just feel bad for not only Charlie's family and myself, but also everyone who was there to witness it. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeb, that you're going through this and that you saw that. You had a moment with Charlie before all of this happened. You took a selfie. Tell me about that exchange and what you two spoke about.
Yeah, so the picture of him, the selfie, is actually from 2024. So I actually volunteered for him in August of last year. I do have a picture of him at the event. However, it's not a very good photo. He's actually looking in the opposite direction. But I did talk with him a little bit. I just said, you're going to do a great job. You're going to, it's going to be an awesome experience. I just cheered him on. We took a picture together. We took a selfie. We took a couple group photos. They're going to release it to us on the 22nd, those group photos. And it's to know that you had met someone that was kind of an inspiration to you. And then 30 minutes later, you literally watch them die in front of you. It's like, I can just never get that out of my mind. It's just heartbreaking.
What was it about Charlie Kirk that inspired you? Why were you there that day? And what did it motivate you to do?
Well, it's I liked the way that he communicated. I liked his civility.
All right, we didn't have to listen to the whole thing. I was kind of getting enthralled by his story here. But no, you end up with this again. You have the same cast of characters. You have the same people being trotted out over and over and over. There were, 5 dozen TPUSA volunteers that day. He's the one that gets called up to all the interviews. He didn't even play any kind of particular role. He was just there. Why him? Now, let's switch to NewsNation for just a little bit, because NewsNation plays an outsized role in everything that's going to be taking place. If you want to establish the narrative, remember, we have to establish the narrative he's been shot. NewsNation does a great job of that. They host people over and over and over saying he's been shot, he's been shot, he's been shot, he's been shot, he's been shot. So you got to establish that. You have to establish there's some sort of permissive security environment at the perimeter of the organization that day to allow a lone gunman in. And then you have to establish it is some sort of a Christian or anti-Christian or right-wing or left-wing reason why Charlie Kirk's not here. Either you're blaming him for being too far right-wing, or you're blaming the other guy for being too far left wing. But it is a wing. There's a wing component to this. There is a clip where Jimmy Kimmel gets pulled off of the air. Jimmy Kimmel is pulled off of the air for, well, I'll just show you the X feed. I don't want to play the whole clip, but Jimmy Kimmel makes a joke. He plays a clip and he gets pulled off the air. Here's the NewsNation version of it. ABC has followed Nextstar's lead and immediately pulling Jimmy Kimmel live from the air following his comments about the death of Charlie Kirk. This is NewsNation saying they followed Nextstar's lead. Nextstar owns NewsNation. They are the same. So you have this, or maybe NewsNation owns Nextstar, but I think it's the other way around. I think Nextstar owns NewsNation. But NewsNation, Nextstar, owns all these ABC affiliates around the country. They go out there and they say, we're not putting Jimmy Kimmel on. You can run Jimmy Kimmel from the main ABC feed, but here in our neck of the woods, we are not showing Jimmy Kimmel to our local audiences. Well, that puts a lot of pressure on ABC. What, do they just play Jimmy Kimmel to nobody? Nobody's going to see it. Why would you have him host a show? So they pull him off the air. It's important to understand that he was pulled off the air for these clips he's played and these jokes he makes. And the guy who clears the clips for him to play is Steve Kozak. We talked about that last night. If you missed that, go watch it. Steve Kozak, his job is to clear the clips and to make sure they don't go wrong. Steve Kozak, in his capacity working for Jimmy Kimmel, is part, I think, my opinion, part of the reason Jimmy Kimmel gets pulled off. What's the weird component to that? It was his son who was placed as the second questioner asking a trans violence question, while a guy who apparently was motivated by trans violence takes Charlie Kirk out. And so you have this immediate connection that develops. And you think, well, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. It is, I'll just show you here that it is America's second largest or largest local affiliate. Here it is. Yeah, the largest. This is their claim on their website. If you look how many markets Jimmy Kimmel would have been pulled on. Nextstar owns America's largest local television broadcasting group comprised of top network affiliates, more than 200 owned or partner stations in 116 markets, reaching 220 million people. So Jimmy Kimmel wouldn't have been seen in any of these markets. So Nextstar has tremendous power when it comes to pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air. And if you go through and look, I mean, it's all the major markets have Jimmy Kimmel, have Nextstar stations here. Yeah, Nextstar owns NewsNation. That's right. You'll remember NewsNation played another role in trying to nail down the narrative once they started losing control of the Charlie Kirk narrative, because that dadgum Candace Owens and her Mary Bass cast of characters would not shut up and would not go away. And they were trying to say that Tyler Robinson might not have had much to do with this. And so NewsNation deploys one of their contributors, a guy named Brian Enton, out to make sure we all know, in fact, it was Tyler Robinson. Here's a little piece of that package.
Accused Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson set to appear in court tomorrow. Ahead of that are Brian Enton speaking exclusively with a family member of Robinson's partner, Lance Twiggs. The interview revealing some new insight into the couple's relationship, their online presence, and the text messages released by prosecutors. Senior correspondent Brian Enton joins us live from Utah. So, Brian, what all did you learn?
Yeah, it was really an interesting interview, Nicole. We're at Utah Valley University right now. This is where Charlie Kirk was shot, right in this courtyard right here. You mentioned there's a big court hearing tomorrow that we'll be at, but we are also now for the very first time talking to Lance Twiggs' family. And Lance Twiggs has really been a big mystery in this entire thing. Remember, he is the roommate and romantic partner of Tyler Robinson, the man accused of shooting and killing Charlie Kirk. He is the person, according to law enforcement, who was texting with Tyler Robinson right after the shooting. And there's been a lot of questions about where he is. Is he under FBI protection? Is he in the witness protection program? I have learned through this family member that he is no longer being protected by the FBI, that he has moved out of state, so he is no longer in Utah, that he has obtained an attorney, his family has. I spoke with that family member. She did not want her face shown just because of everything going on, but she says this has obviously been an extremely difficult time for the family. Listen to this.
I mean, both.
Okay, I got to pause you here because I have to preempt him. So he just told you he's talking to this all-important family member, and he's on NewsNation, this very important company owned by Nexstar, who ends up getting Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air to solidify the narrative that this is a right wing versus left wing. This has a MAGA component. This has a trans violence component. Nexstar is playing a very outsized role. They're getting Jeb Jacobi. They're getting Tiffany Barker. They're getting Taylor Beldine. They're getting all these people tied to these key central players, tied to Hunter Kozak, tied to Phil Lyman. These are the people they're continually trotting out over and over and over. They're losing the narrative. Most people don't think Tyler Robinson had anything to do with it. Most people are confused by the fact that they paved over the scene of the crime 4 days later. Most people are bothered by that. Most people are bothered by the fact that a 30-06 doesn't do that damage. It would basically decapitate him. It would tear half his neck off. Most people are bothered by the fact that this story's not adding up, that this random guy wouldn't just run up on a rooftop and just know he could have access to Charlie Kirk without having any kind of plan in place, right? So they're losing control of the narrative. And NewsNation has a lot invested in this narrative for whatever reason. And so they deploy Brian Enton to go out and grab this woman who he says is a family member of Lance Twiggs. Now, I'm going to preempt this by saying I know who this woman is. I can't tell you who she is, but I know who she is. I know how she's related to the Robinsons, to the Twiggs, rather. I know this because Brandy and Billy interviewed their family, the Twiggs family and the Robinson family. They talked to them at the court hearing. And their family crapped all over this woman. They said she is not family. She is a distant cousin of the family, like multiple times removed. Wouldn't show up with potato salad at the family reunion. This is not that kind of family member. They estimated, the family of Lance Twiggs estimated this woman has seen Lance Twiggs 3 times in his life. 3 times. That was their estimate. And they said the last time she probably laid eyes on Lance Twiggs was over 10 years ago. In other words, this is an op. What you're watching right here is a total 100% op. Now, whether Brian Enton was in on it or whether he got played, I don't know. But this was an absolute desperation heave. This was a Hail Mary, 4th and 14 with 44 seconds left in the game. The game's on the line. You got to throw the ball into the end zone. We're losing control of the narrative. The Candace Owens, the Ian Carrolls, the Baron Colemans, the Coach Collins, all the people out there have basically cracked the case and let us know that Tyler Robinson didn't do this. I mean, think of the work put in by people like Trigger Smart and Heavy Duty Country and Jesse on Fire with all those gunshots, all those 30-06 rounds, all those frangible rounds they put into different cuts of meat to prove that a 30-06 would never do this kind of damage to somebody. It would just obliterate the neck. It absolutely would go through and through. It would leave a ghastly wound, not some little wound on the front of the neck and really nowhere else in the body. And so they're losing control of the narrative. So they trot out this woman in shadow. And the reason she's in shadow is because anyone who knows the family would immediately know who this is and say, how the hell would she know anything? This woman knows nothing. She is of no connection to this family. She doesn't even know Lance Twiggs. I mean, I have family like this. Family I haven't seen in 10 or 15 years. They have no idea what I'm doing. They would have no idea if I was involved in some sort of crime. They would have no idea how I text my friends, how my wife and I communicate by text. They would have no idea. And so what I'm going to play it. We've played it before, and you guys may have already seen it, but I want to play it with that context in mind. The Billy and Brandy reporting, the firsthand reporting here is absolutely critical to understanding this narrative, to understanding NewsNation's role into trying to shape a narrative. And if they're trying to shape a narrative at this late date, this was 3.5 months after the shooting. If they're still trying to force the narrative at that point, think of the heavy work they were putting in the first few days. But here's what she has to say.
Both of them are super smart. I mean, Lance was, I do know that. And I remember, you know, he was a, I don't know, concert pianist. Like his talent for piano music was off the charts, like not normal. It was very impressive. And that's kind of what I've heard about Tyler, is that he was just so smart and it's just a shame that these kids that had so much potential and such a bright future.
What do you think changed?
I don't, you know, and then being as antisocial as they were, from my understanding of, you know, playing these games and being a part of this Discord group, you know, it just, they didn't seem like they were in a real world.
There's text messages between Tyler and Lance where they're texting after the event. A lot of people find them unusual.
The world that they were in, like this gaming world, like that was a normal way that they kind of spoke, that this wasn't an abnormal, the way they spoke wasn't abnormal.
Yes. We know they all speak like Cary Grant and Jimmy Cagney. That's just how gamers speak. Talk to any gamer. That's how they speak. You understand that. Any of you who have any gaming experience whatsoever understand that an average text conversation between two gamers sounds a lot like Gone with the Wind. This is an op. This was a Hail Mary desperation heave solely to get the headline they wanted. The headline was Lance Twiggs' family says Tyler Robinson did it. That's the key. That's the headline they're searching for. I'll continue playing in a second. It's just another minute or so, but or two. But I will play it. But that's the headline they're seeking. Why? Because they've lost control of the narrative and they're doing everything within their power to get it back. It is so blatantly obvious. This entire narrative is ridiculous. No, that's not how gamers in their early 20s speak to each other by text. That's just not true. No, this woman doesn't know them. She doesn't have a clue how they speak. She doesn't have a clue how they act. She doesn't have a clue what they're up to. She would not know if they did it or didn't do it. And I know that because the family said that to Billy and Brandy. This woman's crazy. We don't know who we know who she is. We have no idea why she's speaking. We have no idea why she's making these comments. And again, I don't know if Brian Enton was in on it or someone just said, hey, Brian, we got a family member. Can you interview her? It'll just take 10 minutes. Just ask her these 5 questions. I don't know. I'd be disappointed if he was in on it because I looked into him after this and I kind of like his work. But it's a little weird. It's a little weird here, but this is the headline they're going for, and they're going to get it here.
There have been a lot of questions about where Lance is now, whether he's in the FBI protection program. It's been a big mystery. He kind of has disappeared.
Yeah, my understanding was for the first few weeks, because there were so many threats against his family that and him that they had. My understanding is they did have a little bit of FBI detail, and they kind of moved around a little bit, but they're not anymore. He's with his family.
Will he still cooperate with the investigation, from what you know?
You know, I don't know. You know, when I first found out about how he was taken in and talked to by the police, you know, I know that they said that he was very cooperative, but they had to go get him and bring him in. He didn't voluntarily go in and say, hey, I heard about this and I have some knowledge. You know, he had to go in, then he handed things over when they asked for him, but he didn't give up any information until he had to.
There are so many theories out there, and I'm sure you've seen them. People think other people are involved or another government was involved. I mean, you're kind of in the middle of this. How confident are you that police have the right guy, Tyler Robinson?
100%.
That's the headline they wanted. The only reason she was there. She was there to further the narrative that they have the right guy. That's it. That was her role. And she played it perfectly. She played it perfectly. You would not know unless you talked to the family that she didn't know these kids. She didn't have a clue. That is an absolute consideration here. It's something that must be taken into consideration. Why is NewsNation so insistent on furthering this narrative? What role did they play? You guys remember, we'll bring it back to Hunter Kozak now. You guys remember Hunter Kozak here. I'm going to pull this up. I think it's timestamped. Let me pull this up here. We've got Hunter Kozak making yet another appearance in a very strange moment. Erika Kirk does a town hall with Barry Weiss, and Hunter Kozak shows up on the scene.
The last person that Charlie ever spoke to was a Utah Valley student named Hunter Kozak. He was asking Charlie a question that day when he was shot, and he's here tonight, and he wants to ask you a question.
Hi there. Erika, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your calls for peace and unity. And I'm likewise horrified by the people in my so-called camp who were cheering about Charlie's murder.
Again, solidifying the right versus left. That is his goal. That is what he's doing here. Now watch how he solidifies it even further with his question.
I believe that they stoke the flames of violence. But even worse is when powerful, influential people on either side of the aisle stoke the flames. When they do it, the flames can become an inferno. And this leads me to Donald Trump, the most powerful and influential person on earth, who has more responsibility than anyone else to put the flames out. Just last month, President Trump called on 6 Democratic lawmakers to be tried for sedition, which he clarified was punishable by death. He then reposted a simple message: hang them. I think that you've been making strides to bring peace to our country, and that turning point has been asking Democrats to decry the individuals who cheer for violence. I have and will continue to decry them. But any good faith effort to stop political violence must hold both parties to the same standard and expectation. So in that spirit, will you condemn the violent rhetoric of Donald Trump, the most powerful and influential person on earth?
Hunter Kozak is invited to the CBS thing to further the narrative that this is a right versus left thing. This is what he's been doing the entire time. This was trans violence. This is trans guns. This is all about Charlie Kirk was opposed to just perfectly innocent people, and because he's a racist bigot or he's a transphobic bigot. And that's the question that was launched at the time. Then he immediately goes on, if you watch last night's show, he goes on with his cousin's news organization that his cousin works for, and he further spends an hour saying this is a left versus right thing. This is in December, 3 months later, and they're losing control of it. And people are questioning if it was politically motivated or perhaps was it motivated for some other reason. And so they bring him back out to yet again make sure we know this is a left versus right thing. I'm going to play her answer just because I played to this point, but her answer is really irrelevant to why I wanted to play this.
I appreciate your question. You know my heart. Why would I ever say, yes, go murder people? This is so much deeper than just one. I understand your sentiment. I do. But this is also so much deeper than just one person.
Okay, that's all I could take of those eyes. But again, the point I wanted to play was his role. He is playing, in my opinion, a role. He is showing up to further the narrative, get it back on track. This is about the time the Ryan Ensign interview comes out. We've got to drill this down on left versus right. We have to drill this down on the fact that it absolutely was Tyler Robinson. It absolutely was their text messages. Even if it's completely dishonest to trot this, fourth cousin, 5 times removed great aunt out to do it. This is where we are. Now we have confirmation from Hunter Kozak that CBS actually was in on making sure he was there. Here is Hunter Kozak answering the question, did CBS pay for your travel to see Erika Kirk? Also, it's interesting you were practicing your reaction to Charlie's murder several times before it happened. Who are you working for, Hunter? Yeah, they did. No, I didn't. You're retarded. But yeah, they did. CBS actually paid for him to be there. So he didn't just happen to be there. It was coordinated. In another tweet, he says that he told them, I will only participate if I can ask her this one question. I want to play just I know it's late. I know we've been going an hour and a half already, but I want to play this series of questions that get right to the heart of, was there a gunshot at all? Because it's so unbelievable. Go back to Nick Sandmann. In the first 24 hours after that happened, it was so unbelievable. The narrative was so set in stone that Nick Sandmann and his Catholic school friends from Kentucky were harassing these minorities. It was so set in stone that it would have been unbelievable for someone even to think otherwise. It would be like being an American. This may be a bad example, but you're an American and it's just been beat in your head that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the greatest documents ever written, and that they had a Christian basis and they had a godlike basis. And someone says, you know, that's all Satanism. It was all built on Satanism. And you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the God they're talking about Satan. Huh? What are you talking about? I mean, obviously that's a weird example because go read the documents. But that reaction, what are you talking about? That's the reaction you would have had if in the first 24 hours after the Nick Sandmann story broke, before the longer video came out. I'll admit, it looked terrible. The little clip they played looked so bad. And I thought, why did they harass these people? I mean, I bought it. Everyone else did too. And then when you see the footage in its entirety, you go, oh my gosh, these kids were totally innocent. It's the same thing when you start lining up all the different people who claim they heard something that didn't sound like a gunshot at all. I'll play through some of these in rapid succession. This is not going to take terribly long, but I want you to start hearing the pattern that develops very early on.
That moment, what was that moment like?
I thought I heard a firecracker.
Thought I heard a firecracker. So that's the first one. I thought I heard a firecracker. Let's go to the next one. This is two different people being interviewed. They're going to be asked the same question. What did you hear? What did it sound like? What was going on in your head? There's interesting things about this particular interview as well, but we're not going to get into all of it. Here is their version.
Student came up to the mic. We just moments after heard the shot. The shot came from the left side, and I looked over just like that, and I thought, wow, isn't that funny? Somebody lit off a firework.
Thought he heard a firework. This becomes a very familiar theme very quickly, and it becomes such a familiar theme that you start wondering, what did people hear? Here's another person here. This is another student, or I think this is a student. Let's hear what this young man heard when he was there and asked about it.
I heard two pops and we ran, and a lot of people ran with us. When I was standing by the door, kind of overseeing what was happening, some people were standing there still taking videos. So I went back out to look over the railing to see like maybe someone just did some firecrackers, something.
Did someone do some firecrackers? This guy heard two pops. You remember Phil Lyman said he heard two pops. So there we have yet somebody else saying they think they might have heard a firecracker. Here you have yet another student giving his version of events. We'll hear what he heard. Again, we're trying to do these in fairly rapid succession, as fast as we could do producing your own program.
Second speaker gets up, starts asking questions just off the cuff about trans shooters, and Charlie's responding. I think it's no more than 20 seconds. And I'm listening, but I'm focused on how I can navigate my way through the crowd. And I hear a shot ring out, and it was weird the way the sound reflected off the building and off of everybody that was there. I guess I haven't been downrange from a shot before, but it didn't sound like it was a firearm, which was really weird. But from my perspective, again, I've never been downrange from a discharged firearm. So that gives me new perspective as well.
So he says it didn't sound like a firearm to him. So we got multiple people, some people saying a firecracker, some people saying it doesn't sound like a firearm. We go back to Taylor Beldine, where we picked up earlier. Taylor Beldine weighs in on what she says she thinks she heard. And again, I'm just playing a few of these. There are dozens of these accounts if you play through them all.
Through this, Taylor, I want to bring you in here. What do you remember from that moment?
My initial thought was just shock. I was so scared. I was like, oh no, I was thinking it's a gunshot, but then I was thinking it's in Utah, so it's maybe just a firework.
Maybe just a firework. So you have this, and I'm telling you, hold on. You have a lot of these videos out there. I'm playing 4, 5, 6 of them just to give you an idea of what they sound like. But you have person after person after person taking to the television saying they didn't think it was a gunshot. It didn't sound like a gunshot. It sounded like a firework. One guy talking about, well, I guess I've never been downrange before. Well, I've never been downrange, but I know the difference between a firework and a gunshot. I know what they sound like. And put it in that context. Might you see the urgency if you're trying to form a narrative, if you're trying to control the messaging, if you're trying to solidify, again, those 3 key messages? The security was lax, allowing, and I've kind of skipped that part for time, but you got a lot of people saying the security was really lax. I didn't have to show a ticket to get in. I just walked right in. Establishing the security was lax, so of course a lone gunman could have gotten there. You've got people establishing immediately. This had to be about the trans shooting. This had to be about politics. It's right versus left. We push that so hard, we get Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air. Jimmy Kimmel, again, key employee at Jimmy Kimmel is Hunter Kozak's dad. Hunter Kozak, the guy who was placed second with a pre-approved question about trans violence. And then you have this whole series of people that are questioning, was it even a gunshot? It didn't sound like a gunshot. It sounded like a firework. It sounded like a firecracker. And again, I could sit here for 30 minutes and play firecracker clips. So you look at this, and this gets back to kind of the way I opened the show yesterday. If you were going to stage an event, not only would you have to worry about taking out the target, not only would you have to worry about that, however you plan to do it, you have to have key actors in place. You have to have key components in place that can get in front of the news media and create a Nick Sandmann environment that can really drill down the narrative, who can really hold firm on the narrative. It was a gunshot. It was a gunshot. It was a gunshot. It was a gunshot. To the point where all the people there that thought they heard a firework are like, well, then I heard a gunshot. You know, actually, it sounded like a firework. Okay, then why'd you say it was a gunshot? That's not what you heard. You heard what you thought was a firework. Just say that. But it's actually changing the testimony they're giving. The narrative is changing their experience of what it is they heard, what it is they saw. That's how powerful the narrative was. That's how powerful it was that people immediately started getting out there and saying he was shot. Remember the first person who said he was shot? It was Terrell Farnsworth. 26 seconds after the shot, Terrell Farnsworth grabs his phone and says, they shot Charlie. They shot Charlie. He realized after he watched it, I'm sure, he looked so ridiculous, he couldn't possibly release it. But you had all these people immediately deployed into action saying he got shot. They had not seen the gun. No gun had been recovered yet. They had not seen a gunman. No gunman had been caught yet. But this narrative immediately begins to form. It has a very Nick Sandmann appearance in operation. Yes, of course, Nick Sandmann and his Catholic school colleagues from Kentucky are racist. You saw the video, right? Look at it. It's devastating. Someone in the comments mentioned Butch Hibbs. Butch Hibbs walks up to Adam from Life is Driving, Adam Bartholomew from Life is Driving, and he starts talking about a gunshot. He got shot in the neck. Some people are saying he got shot in the shoulder, but he got shot in the neck. It just was a very early key. And I will add, I don't think he got shot. I think this is very effective messaging. I think the whole thing has been Nick Sandmann. I don't think he was shot. I think it probably did sound like a firework. I live not far from a shooting range. Not far at all. I hear gunshots all the time. They sound like gunshots. They don't sound like fireworks. I've been to gun ranges a lot of times. They don't sound like fireworks. They sound like gunshots. I've heard high-powered rifles, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 308, all these 0.3 of an inch rounds. I've heard them all. They sound like gunshots. They don't sound like fireworks. And I've been to a lot of 4th of July parties. A lot of them. They sound like fireworks. You light a firework, you throw it away, it sounds like a firework. Has a totally different sound. Has a totally different signature. I think this was a production. In my opinion, NewsNation, in my opinion, not saying it's fact, not reporting it as fact, but in my opinion, they're reporting their choice of people that they continually go back to an interview, their choice of messaging, their choice of putting this totally unvetted, distant relative up and act like she knows these kids and it absolutely was Tyler Robinson. It looks like an op. It looks like an act. It looks like a production. I imagine there's a director. I imagine the director relied on people to hire and recruit witnesses that were going to be used over and over and over to begin to lay the groundwork, to lay the narrative that this was a gunshot. This was a gunshot, and it was driven by political ideology. They were saying that before they even know who the shooter was. We had a prime minister of a foreign country. We had a president of the United States saying, before we even identified a potential shooter, saying that it was leftist violence. I don't know how you look at it any other way. One day, we're going to look at Phil Lyman. We're going to look at all the connections to Phil Lyman in this thing, including the house that first released the Ring doorbell footage, Phil Lyman's car in that Ring doorbell footage, Phil Lyman standing at all these key points talking to Adam Bartholomew afterwards, where he laughs when he asked if he saw what happened. We'll look at Phil Lyman, and we'll look at some of these other key players. But I think tonight I want to leave it there because I don't want to overcomplicate it. I don't want to go any further into it than I have to in order to demonstrate what I believe was a production. It looks to me like a production. And if it wasn't a production, that's what a production would look like. If you were going to pull this off and you were going to have something explode under Charlie's shirt, which I think happened, I think it's beyond a doubt that what they heard that everybody thought was a firework was whatever it was that exploded under Charlie's shirt. They didn't hear a gunshot. They heard a firework because that's what it sounded like. It was a very small explosive. That's why they think they heard a firework. But it was so beat into your head from the very earliest moments, from the seconds after it happened, he was shot. They shot Charlie. Remember, that's the first thing they told Andrew Colvett when they called him. They shot Charlie. Everybody's reaction is they shot Charlie. Charlie was shot. It became just absolute embedded into the news over and over and over and over and over again. All right. So I do want to get through some of your comments. Again, I'm not going to do the show in 2 hours because then I can't talk to you guys. And I want to be able to talk to you guys, get some feedback. And so no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not being rude. I just, you can pick and choose which parts you want to watch. I do add chapters after the show. It takes 30 minutes or so for them to get updated and YouTube to throw them onto the options, but they're there. You ever want to just pick and choose what you want to listen to. I love that Candace called out Coach today. You are all such a great team. God has blessed you all and are using your blessing to bring us truth. Thank you, Baron. Jesus loves us. Yeah, Coach is great. I love Coach's new live format. I think he's hilarious, for one. He makes me laugh, and that makes me like him. We've become pretty good friends. We text quite a bit, bounce ideas off of each other, help each other just, with the mental grind of working 15 and 17-hour days, 4 or 5 days a week. On an average day, I sit down in this chair at 7 o'clock in the morning and I get up at 11 o'clock at night. I get up to go to the bathroom and to eat. The rest of the day, I sit here preparing for the night's show. I do the night's show that lasts 2.5 to 4 hours. And then I have the post-production stuff. And then I go to bed so that I can wake up and do the whole thing again the next day. I do it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. It is the greatest job I've ever had. But there's a grindy component to it day in and day out. And, I spend a lot of time on the phone with my sister, with Daisy, getting things prepared and ready for the show. For this program, I talked to Sam Parker quite a bit, getting ready for that, getting some ideas from him. He helped me a tremendous amount, helping to see things and put things in a particular order. And so there's a lot that goes into it. And Coach and I talk about that a lot. So he does a great job. Veritas Lux Mea, Candace Owens, the truth is my light. Roger that. Teal hoodie today? No, went with dark gray. First time super chatting, trying to get my fiance to watch you. LOL, sending love and prayers from CHS SC. SC would be South Carolina. What's Columbia High School? What is CHS? I love Columbia High School, or whatever you. I know Columbia is a city in South Carolina. Oh, Charleston. Charleston's in South Carolina. I bet that's CHS. Love in Charleston. I've been there one time. 1 out of every 3 blueberries is an absolute nightmare. The only recourse Erika has at this point is to claim that her stories don't match due to the Mandela effect. I did an opening on the Mandela effect. I don't know if you saw that. I thought it was fun. That was a fun one to write. God bless you, sir. Well, God bless you as well. I see your song recommendation of If We Were Vampires and Raised You Remember When by Alan Jackson. Christ is King. Christ is King indeed. Remember When's a fine song, but it has nothing on If We Were Vampires. Absolutely nothing. But Remember When's a fine song. First time super chat. If you haven't watched the Tyler Wood encounter yet, Baron, you should totally check him out. Nothing about Charlie. I don't know what that means. I think Erika was confused when she was Kuma louder back in the day. Just saying. I don't think she was confused. I think she's. It could be the whole Erika cum laude thing, maybe she was, and it just, for whatever reason, didn't make it into the program. But Tyler's made it into the program. Why wouldn't hers make it in? I don't think she was. Just like I think she ignores a lot of the inconsistencies and just doesn't address them. But I don't think she was. The leader supreme in Philadelphia has been lying to us for decades about Iran's nuclear weapons, so exposing pathological liars is important. It absolutely is important. Watch a documentary about an American touring Iran right now. Americans have lost the plot about how good we really have it here. As a combat vet, I see why you were out of sorts the other night. They truly are good people. I'm out of sorts for a lot of reasons. I hate war. And after watching what's taken place, and I mean, I was born into war, basically, 79. So I was born, we were just getting out of Vietnam. We had some limited skirmishes in the 80s, nothing too crazy, but what was going on in Central and South America. And then 1991, man, I was in 5th grade, and we've been basically a perpetual war ever since. There was the Iraq War, which led right into the Balkans and Kosovo and Bosnia, and I mean, and then that led right into 9/11, and then Afghanistan and Iraq, and then it's just one thing after the other. And at some point, guys, we just got to stop. Like, we just got to say, hey, we're going to dial it back. Y'all work it out. Y'all work it out. Candace read my comment on her show tonight regarding watching you receive a text live on your show last night. I love the team energy. Go Mags. That was you, huh? Yeah, that was a fun moment, actually. I haven't checked my text messages tonight because Daisy hadn't jumped in and told me anyone has texted. Interesting. Tiny bit of an echo, but don't shorten anything. I don't know what the echo could possibly be from. Please share the letter from TPUSA you received today. I saw next, please. Curious what it says. Keep the long lives. We love it. It's just a fundraising appeal. Sir Baron, a humble merch suggestion, a pic of Baron in a hoodie, on a hoodie, a la Fleet's opening of you in Useless Idiot song, hoodie on hoodie, a hoodie inception, if you will, sir. That would be funny. That'd be funny. That was a great song. That's a banger. I listened to it 3 or 4 times today. I talked to Ian about it last night. I sent him a text. I was like, this is a banger. Number one hit. If you've not heard Useful Idiot by Adfleet on YouTube, go find it. It's great. Lex Friedman did a 10-hour show with Scott Horton, and I watched it 3 times. High IQs can handle multiple-hour shows. If you want a short, dumbed-down show, go watch SpongeBob, you infant. This is a high IQ outfit. Well, there's no reason to attack each other. I certainly don't want to attack him. I just, we do the show we do, and people can watch as much or as little as they want, Terrible week. Lost my dog. The nurse Casey replied to my email, and Baron replied to my X comment. I needed that. God bless you all. Oh, so overall a bad week, but a couple of highlights in there. I yelled at my phone today that Candace wasn't over time today and to come back. I appreciate long form of you and Coach. Don't yell at your phone. People think you're crazy. 8 hours sounds good. People have to work for 8 hours. We should be allowed to play for 8 hours. Go Max Barron. Doing my best out here. I remember seeing somewhere that TPUSA screens the people who ask questions. True. Also, Hunter Kozak had been banned from TPUSA events. True. Christ is king. So that's an interesting point you raised there at the right before the Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. It's an interesting point you raised because Hunter Kozak had been banned from TPUSA events. He has a whole YouTube video where he lied about, he showed up at a TPUSA event and they said he couldn't get in. So he went back, put a hat on, and walked back in and said he'd lost his ticket, and they issued him new credentials and he got in. So why was he allowed to ask such a critical question at such a critical juncture? That's a great point. Great point. I don't normally watch long podcasts, but I feel your show is so good. 3 hours is too short, and I'm watching from Ireland currently, 1 a.m. here. I never miss a live, and I've got school runs to do, but worth it. I hope school runs doesn't mean you're driving a bus. If so, prioritize the kids. Get a night's sleep. I'll be here in the morning. Summa cum laude, summa cum softly. Get the logic book. Get a copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dr. Norman Peale for selfish commenters trying to get you to shorten the show. Well, I have this book right here, which is on your list, your reading list you guys will receive. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is Dale Carnegie's version. The greatest book of its genre. I'll say that. The greatest book of its genre. Baron, first of all, I'm watching. Love your show from Las Vegas. I live here. EK got prego from the baseball guy and gave up that baby. Check with her closest crew handlers right under your nose. Who was that baby? That would have been what year? 2013? What makes you say that? You can't just say that. You got to have proof of that. I mean, that, like, I have proof of the 08 thing. She disappeared for 8 months. You know when else she disappeared? The 2 times she was pregnant with Gigi and Mac. She disappeared then as well. So there's at least some parallel there. Do you have any evidence of that in the past? Sir Baron, don't cater to the ADHD visitors. 3 to 4 hours is great for the grand jury. Continue to be fearless and use your talent on loan from God. Praying for you and your family's safety. Well, me too. I'm glad to know you're here for the long haul. 2 of TR's defense attorneys are currently defending Corey Richins' murder trial in Utah right now, watching on court TV. Interest to see. You rock. So glad you decided to go full-time. Prayers for you and your family. there something I should know about? Why is everyone praying for my family and my safety? She's been caught in so many lies. The people asking, what does this or that have to do with anything? People don't lie this much for no reason. Shabbat, shut up. Yeah, we're almost to Shabbat Shalom. That'll be tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to do a member show tomorrow, by the way, for the members. If you want to be involved in that, it'll probably be 1-ish, if I had to guess. About 1 p.m. tomorrow, give or take. We'll come on and do a member show. I've got a few things I want to get off my chest. We'll get those out and then just do some Q&A, have some fun. I like reading through the comments and you guys lead me wild places. Maybe we'll talk those final couple book slots. Any connections between the Kozak family and anyone that worked for EK's production company? Production, directors, pageants. If something can corrupt you, you're corrupted already. Unknown. Prayers and support from Texas. What's funny about that, I don't know about that connection, but what's funny about that is I was listening to an old Erika Kirk podcast today, and I stopped. 12 minutes in because I'd already counted like 9 lies, disprovable lies, like saying she'd never been in another pageant before she got the letter while she was at Colorado. She was Miss Arizona Teen USA. She competed in pageants in high school. She competed in pageants her first 2 years at Colorado. She competed in pageants both years at Arizona. Why would you lie about that? It's so easily demonstrably false. You are a dishonest human being. Repent. Repent. We're a forgiving people. I'm a forgiving person. If she came out and said, look, I've told a lot of tales in my life. I was trying to craft some narratives. I thought it would help me get ahead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. Here on out, I'm just going to be honest Abe. I'll be forgiving. Let you guys make the call on whether you trust her. The information, the way you communicate it to your high IQ offense is sublime. I know there's a band called Sublime. I don't know that I've ever looked that word up. I'm not afraid to admit when my knowledge falls short. I think that's part of being smart is you have to admit when you don't know something of such excellent grandeur or beauty as to inspire great admiration or awe. I knew it meant good, but I didn't know it meant that. Wow. Thank you. Sublime. I'm going to use that more. You've created a beautiful community, and I never miss a show. Well, thank you. I hope you're not disappointed that I didn't know the dictionary definition of sublime. Baron, please don't ever forget God wins in the end. Oh, I don't forget. It keeps me sane. It keeps my anxiety and worry low. What you're doing matters. What you say matters. Means something. Your time is not wasted. Your stance is justified. Romans 8:31. Well, I don't think it's wasted. Did I say that? Baron. I like when you Frenchize it. Baron. It's wild. People want to tell you how long to do your show. Shabbat, shut up. Most of us appreciate your research and time. Thank you. Thank you. How would I have done tonight's show any shorter? This is a high IQ outfit. Honestly, how would I have done tonight's show any shorter? It takes time to build a case. It takes time to, my goal tonight was to walk out of here after yesterday and today, having presented a pretty good argument, not definitive proof, but a pretty good argument that this could have been a production with actors. And the actors could have been there to solidify the narrative that there was a gunshot, there was a security deficit that allowed a lone gunman to take off, and that there was some sort of a political component to it. That was my job. How am I going to do that in less time? I don't know. This is a high IQ outfit. Do you? Your Highness. 10 minutes, 10 hours. As always, thanks. As always for your work. I have a cipher. Robin Gino, Mike, not Noel, Matt, washed out in Gaily Wire. Love how Candace Owens thinks. Are you Kanye? I know you're not. I have not watched mainstream media in months. Support to one of my favorite podcasters out here, speaking the truth. Well, you're probably smarter for it. Hi, Mr. Barron. Did you see today that Tyler Robinson's defense team wants to have a private meeting regarding removal of recording devices and videos out of the courtroom before the April 17th hearing? Thoughts? I didn't see that, but that's worrisome. That's worrisome. If they bar the media from that trial, that's going to be so worrisome. I think the judge predisposed not to do that, and I hope he sticks with it. Like water off a duck's back. Don't change a thing. We, the jury and grand jury, you're true fans. Oh, that guy's not a true fan, I see. Love the format length and stand behind our humble host. I'm trying to be humble. I'm trying to be worthy of your time. My favorite part of your 3-hour-long shows is at the end of the broadcast when you look into the camera at all of us and say, Jesus loves you. Thank you, Baron. That's my favorite part. Candace shouted out Coach Colin tonight. Yes. I bet he's over the friggin' moon. You were mentioned as well. I thought about this when I watched the Useful Idiot video. It would be really fun to get the four of us in one room and do a show. Like just an all-out brawl of a show where there's no rules, there's no like format, there's no just talking. I think that would be so fun. Just let everybody's personality come out and just chat. I think that would be fun. I think it would be fun. I don't know that any of them have time to do it. I don't know that everyone's travel schedules would work. I don't know that everybody else would think it would be fun, but I would have a blast. I would probably do a lot more listening than talking because I'm in awe of those people, all of them. Hunter Kozak stated in his first interview after the big boom, his brother was involved in a school shooting not too long before that. Coincidence? I don't know. I do remember that. Dear Baron, my question to you this evening is, do you think that it's time that everyone stops calling those who don't share their political views bad names? You need to fix the divided states of America with hope. Bad names? I think it depends on what the bad names are. Like, I have some bad names I'm thinking of some people right now that are opposite sides of this Middle Eastern conflict. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you're supporting an agenda that's killing people in an unjust manner, I think bad things. You know, if you want to raise taxes 3% and somebody else wants to cut taxes 1%, I don't think we should be calling people bad names. Let's make economic argument. If we're still auditioning the actor to play you, I vote the actor that plays Boromir in Lord of the Rings, Sean Bean, circa 2000s. Well, he can't play me circa 2000s. That's the problem. He's basically 67 now. One does not simply get shot by a 30-06. I didn't know who you were talking about, but I know that meme. Sandmann opening was perfect for tonight's theme to bring together the full picture of the Hollywood production to frame the narrative and force the public to move on from questions. Thank you, as always. Christ is king indeed. Indeed. Well, thank you. I thought it was a pretty good time to roll Nick Sandmann out. I have a lot of these half-written openings where I've kind of skeleton outline a topic that I know I want to get to at some point. I just don't know when to do it. And I knew I wanted to do that one on a time when framing the narrative was important, and today was the day. It's all a lie when you look. Watch the Lost History of the Flat Earth. Look into what Admiral Byrd discovered, the firmament of the Bible, Christ is King. I've looked into Admiral Byrd a little bit, admittedly not very much. I am not a huge flat earther, but I actually buffer that to say I'm not a vacuum of space earther either. So to me, there's a middle ground between those two that I think is accurate. Beautiful and poetic way to depict how narratives are not organic and written long in advance. Your show should be 24/7. God bless. My bladder could not handle a 24/7 show. It would not survive. Baron, you do you. Loving the show for a year now. I watch the opening and second act. Stay longer if I can. This is my suggestions for others if too long. Fleet needs to make a video of DJT and BB holding hands singing the Barbara Ann song that took off in the 70s. Bomb, Iran. Our leaders are fake and gay. History repeats. It's time to wake up. Let them be. I don't think I wanted to make that song. I don't want to make bombing Iran cute and fun. And that song's cute and fun. That was I'm thinking of it. Maybe I'm thinking of a different song. I thought that was the Beach Boys. Bar, Baran. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Here's your opening statement. Me, finally, I joke. Hey, I look forward to your opening statements. I feel my IQ getting higher. I'll have to go shopping to get a new outfit soon. Christ is King. Yeah, that new outfit will be available soon. The first test shipments have begun arriving, so we're very close to having done a full quality and process check. And once we do that, we'll roll everything out for everyone else. Erika had a priest pray over Charlie the night before the spell. But what if she had the priest come over and pray over CK because she knew he would be killed the next day? I'm telling you, Baron, that's it. Stay max. Christ is king. I've thought that. I will say this. How much can I say? I think there's a component of Erika that at times she takes her faith fairly seriously. And then she, there are times she doesn't. I feel like that's all I'm not at liberty to say, but I do think there are times where she takes her faith seriously. And maybe the death of the father of her children is one of those times. Not seriously enough to not go through with it, but seriously enough to make sure he's been prayed over. 3 DuPonts from Quebec on the crew of Snake Eyes. Unsure of connection to DuPont family or Kozak's, one part of costume and design on several movies. Now, I'll admit, there are so many weird similarities between Snake Eyes and the Charlie Kirk assassination. I don't think they're related. But there are a lot. Baron, whenever my twin 5-year-old boys notice me watching you, they say, "Mommy, it's your favorite. Thanks for always making my day. Go Max." Well, let them know you're my favorite. Or at least tell them that. Baron said I'm his favorite. Did they have anyone in line third or fourth? Yeah, they had a whole snake of a line. Zechariah Qureshi was in the line. Was Liam wearing his grandpa's suit? Yeah, that was a terribly ill-fitting suit. I have no idea. And his poor aunt is a costume, like a stylist. Go see her. No, it's his mom. His mom? Yeah, it's his mom, I think. She let him walk out of the house in that. Hunter Kozak was added as a creator of the Unblank America tour on 7/16/25, was not listed as a creator on 7/15/25, according to the Wayback Machine. Well, that's good intel. Did they have anyone lined for third or fourth? Yeah, they did. Vital right now, here in Utah, Corey Richins, for unaliving her husband. Her lawyers are terrible and not representing her at all. She has the same lawyers as Tyler Robinson. That's I'm not, maybe they are, but that's a naked claim. I can't evaluate that. What are they doing that's terrible? I'm not paying attention. I'm way too involved in producing this show on a daily basis in order to watch an entire trial. So I have no basis to evaluate that claim. I saw the earlier super chat about EK JT Massey giving a baby to someone close by. Tyler Boyer has a middle daughter about the right age. Might explain the extra awkwardness regarding how they're linked. There may be more about how they're linked coming. Stay tuned. We're getting close. Nailing down some documentation, but we're getting close. Yo, B, did you get my email? I never sent. Oh, Ivan, I was about to fight you. I'm just kidding. B, can you modify your show length? 5 or 6 hours would be great. Baron, replace Trump pick with a negative void. GBC, ease up on boomers, youngster, and get off my lawn. Yeah, boomers are an easy target. Just in the older generation always is. The greatest generation was an easy target. Boomers are an easy target. In 25 years, my generation X will be an easy target. My kids' generation, after the millennials, they'll be an easy target one day. So, it's like if you've ever worked in a restaurant, the PM shift always blames the AM shift for all the problems, and the AM shift always blames the PM shift. It's just normal. Hunter's very weird. You're telling me. His actions prior to the question, hands on his ears, etc., was weird. Definitely seems connected. Officially became a member of the high IQ outfit. Keep the long lives. Christ is King. The people have spoken. We're never shortening it. Lyman's family members were also giving interviews setting the early narrative of the shooting. That's correct. We'll get to that when we talk about Phil Lyman. Officially became a member yesterday. Good. You got a member show coming to your way tomorrow. Baron. They have got you and Candace so freaking throttled. Back tonight, getting closer to the target, bub. Go Max and stay gold. Always remember, Christ is king. I've been getting notices from people on the throttling. Show getting harder to find. I'm aware. What's your opinion on U.S. forces in Germany? Not really a sovereign state since World War II, suffering a huge Muslim migrant crisis and economic decline. What do you think about the general state of Europe? God bless you. This might take a second to answer. So Europe suffered from back-to-back devastating conflicts. Spain largely avoided, I mean, they had their own civil war going on, but they largely avoided the international conflict. But, you know, the Soviets lost millions of people, like 10, 20, 30 million people. Germany, France, devastated. And what you ended up with is this, the surviving, and this is going to be hard news for people, and not every instance is this the case, but we're talking law of averages, right? What you ended up with in Europe was a surviving cast of characters who were the people who didn't go to war. And so it was a little more feminine, maybe. I mean, they just mowed through a lot of the manly men. Let's say that. I'll put it that way. A lot of the manliest men just got mowed through in Europe. And so after World War II, after the baby boomers then grew up, you ended up with this really non-manly generation of men. And I think Europe is greatly suffering from that right now. I think they're really suffering from that right now. And it's unfortunate. And that's as nice as I can say it to someone who I know is based in Europe based on your E-Bucks or L-Bucks. Baron, you are killing my odds game. It's been a while since you would not shared a vid. TK loves you all. Yeah, I've been getting better at it, but tonight I screwed up. Back to my old ways. Can't help it. Hi from Decatur, Alabama. Decatur, the greater equator? TikTok Slop says EK was written out of CK's will. Prior to the Big Bang, does this carry any validity? I doubt it. I haven't heard Candace report on this either. Appreciate you and all you do. I doubt it, but even if she was, she got millions and millions of dollars in donations. There were alleged to be life insurance policies. So even if all his assets went into a trust for his kids, for example, she still walked away with millions. This is my greatest compliment I can give you, is this. You inspire me to be a better man. I'm fighting perm addiction. Oh. I'm 2 months strong. Go Cubs. I hope those aren't related because baseball season's coming up. Or maybe the Cubs keep you off of. Formula One starts tonight. Just got here. Been thinking there are many cases when a woman has been duped, husband affair, maybe a whole second family. She has no idea for years. We keep wondering how Charlie didn't know, but people live double lives all the time. Not a bad point, Jillian. Not a bad point. I think if we can answer the Erika Kirk, Tyler Boyer origin story, it will go a long way towards solving the did Charlie get duped story. Thank you for that generosity. The coordinated plan to bring CK down involves several players. I think the lower level players will be taken out as we continue to put pressure. I worry that the true architects and financial backers may remain untouched. Isn't that always the case? I watched 3 hours in a little over 2 by using 1.7 speed. Nice. Be nice to the normies. They know not what they do. I'm going to start talking faster for people like you. Watch this. Obviously, they had to silence CK before the war. They could not afford to lose media narrative in the midterm scope. Great work. I'll be your own 1.7. Now listen to that at 1.7 speed. I sound like the micro machine man if you're old enough to understand what that means. Why would T. Barker talk about Erika's last tweet? Great point. Not only her last tweet, her only tweets in years, I think. If I'm not mistaken. That's a great point. ASU Senate didn't approve international relations as a major until motion 2456 for a 24-25 academic year inception. I will email the link. You don't have to email the link. I know for a fact they didn't have a major back then because I have the program guide. I showed it last night. Baron, love your show. Feels so comfy. I suggest you leave the spot on the wall black to represent the sad state of the presidency right now. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. You'll notice it is black. And I announced my intention to do so the other night. Narrative formation is why they tried killing any interviews from getting out early on before the narrative they controlled got established. That's correct. That's correct. Good call. Baron, it's almost like they are manufacturing a mass psychosis over the end times prophecy. I've had multiple strangers approach me at my job talking about how we're living in the end times. I'm telling you, that is so dangerous to me. I saw a video of Pete Hegseth talking about that kind of stuff. I thought the religious fanatics were supposed to be on the other side that were trying to usher in the end times, not our side. That whole thing scares me to death. Did anyone ever find out who flashed images of Chucky on the screen behind Erika and Nicki Minaj at AmFest 203 and 228 minute mark of Fox's YouTube video? I've not seen that. Do we know what happened to the kid who was being interviewed and then got surrounded by Color of the Dayers? They weren't Color of the Dayers. They were people that I played that clip tonight. That was Jeb Jacobi. They were wearing red TPUSA volunteer shirts, as was Jeb Jacobi. I don't know. Maybe they were instructed no interviews because they didn't want the firework narrative getting laid before they could lay the gunshot narrative. I don't know. CIA was sloppy making Erika's cover. They received orders to do better in the future. Maybe. Didn't watch last night, but you know Andrew Callahan with Channel 5 did an interview with Hunter Kozak. Yeah, go watch last night. You'll see it. Hi, Baron. I'm grateful your streams are 3 hours plus. I work a job that doesn't allow us to be on our phones. Listening for 4 hours straight without having to pull out my phone saves my sanity and my job. Thank you. See? I'm out here doing the Lord's work. I'm saving sanity, one phoneless worker at a time. Dank said today that YouTube is paying 4 to 6 times more ad rate for Charlie Kirk videos versus war videos. Suddenly, YouTube likes Charlie Kirk videos. What do you make of that? Planned? I don't know that he's right about that. I've certainly not seen any of that. All for that, YouTube, if you can. But I've not seen that result. I've seen no difference over time on YouTube ad. Thanks, BC. Deep dive needed. They're all linked. Larry Ellison, media buyout, P plus WB, TT, all intentional international for cover-ups now, and come be Bush digs in media monopoly. I'm going to assume that's a great point. I'm going to assume I agree with it. We were planning to go see Sun on the 18th. Just got news that base is locked down to all visitors due to threats from Iran for military bases. Praying this is over quickly with no more loss of life. I am so scared of some false flag here on American soil. It absolutely terrifies me because that's the next escalation. That's what happens next. And it scares me. I always believed Hunter Kozak was part of a group known for protesting CK's events. You don't have to believe it. That's just a fact. And therefore was banned from attendance. Now he's number 2 questioner. Yeah, interesting. I love you. It's worth paying again. Ha. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love the long shows. This is why I love you and you're my favorite. Our brains work the same. Never change. By the way, my surgery went great and I'm recovering well. Endometriosis removed from 9 organs. That's a lot. I don't know what all that means. I mean, I know what endometriosis is in the uterus, but I didn't know it could be in other organs. I'm glad you're doing well. Don't you dare pull out. Don't worry about it. Proud member of this high IQ outfit, especially after the huge shout out to you, Coach, and Lionel from the Queen. Long live the Queen. Yeah, I listen to Lionel quite a bit. I like his stuff. Great show, Baron. I have several alerts on my phone that Charlie had been shot before I ever saw the footage. Certainly influenced my bias of the footage. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. That's exactly right. That was the point. Love your show the way it is. I am often I often am not able to watch the full show in one night and just finish the next day. It's great for days that you don't offer a show. Come on, people. It's not hard to pause. Yeah. Agreed. Got my answer. Sorry. You're welcome. You're forgiven. Do we know if any of these folks was at the Trump shooting? I don't know. I've certainly not heard that. Wow, Tiffany Barker mentioning EK's last tweet, which, watch Candace, if you know, you know. The orchestration of this production starts becoming very obvious. It does become very obvious. That's why I wanted to do the show. That's why I'm glad Sam Parker helped so much in the show. It's why I'm glad Great Lakes Dave helped the research of the show. It's why I'm glad Daisy doing Daisy things, helping with the show. It's important to go back to the basics, take a little step back from the basics, and see the overarching plan come into place. I'm not done with that. There's some more to this, but for tonight, we're letting it rest. Funniest thing you ever said. I got 8 kids. You're doing great work. Love how you explain everything and tie in to opening statements. By the way, it's impossible to type super chats. LOL, Crisis King. You know how I do super chats? I text myself what I want to say, and then I copy and I paste it into the super chat window. I'm so glad we're talking about Jeb. I was wondering who was going on because that big guy came up and grabs him. Yeah. What's the point of pretending like he was shot? Seems like there's an easy way to go about things. Well, how? You need to solidify the narrative that this is a trans violence shooting. You can't trans violence your way into poisoning or heart attack. It has to be a shot. Well, you can't say his microphone exploded or his necklace, something happened with it. That's not, no one's going to buy that as a trans violence connection. During the interview, Tiffany even brought up the last tweets, Bible verse from Erika and Charlie, way to set the narrative that EK is an amazing Christian. Everything seems so well calculated. Yeah, because it was. And if there was no Candace and if there were none of these other shows, they'd have got away with it. And I can't imagine how frustrated they are that they can't get away with it. That's why they're calling her a devil. Aha, I wanted to pull out. I got to get. I didn't say I wanted to. I didn't. And without skipping a beat, continues like the professional he is. Thanks for the church giggles. I needed that. Great opening statement. Thanks for not letting your foot off the gas. No gas letting off around here, young lady. But Baron, were questions, orders always pre-planned? I don't know. A great question for TPUSA. Baron, I beg you to quit using the term circle back. I'm getting flashbacks to Biden era and Jan Psaki. Please, I beg you to stop saying it. I can't stop saying it. It's part of my lexicon. Keep in mind, I spent a few years in corporate America. We say circle back a lot. Will you change your show to 4 to 5 hours? A grumbler asks. I've done 4-hour shows. And then I was advised by the urologists in the audience to not do that because it's bad for my bladder. Or else I'll have to play Adfleet songs and take a quick potty break. Baron, have you seen Wiki page for assassination? Fed slop with shocking amount of detail and weird tangential info included clearly for narrative cultivation. I've not. Get people dropping gift memberships. You guys are great. Social emotional learning is a Paulo Freire trauma bonding based brainwashing technique. Sounds like kind and compassionate until you know where it comes from. Duly noted. Here's a super just to tick Gary off. Y'all, I forget Gary exists. I think a lot of other people do too. Kid, kind of, in all seriousness, thank you for all you do, Baron. Keep going, Max, and fighting for the truth. What does Gary say something about my show or something? Isn't it sus TPUSA pre-approved a question? Doesn't seem like they did in the past. It's sus to me they placed him second in line. That's sus to me that they placed him second in line. It would be great to know who was supposed to be number 3, 4, or 5 Charlie Kirk question that day, since we know there were no prep done for the next event. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if they lined up the whole group or just the first couple. Like, was number 19 lined up? We sent our troubled adopted teen to wilderness program in Utah in the 2010s. They really pushed us to send her to Oak Grove afterward. We did not. Ooh, interesting. I'm going to do a little look into Oak Grove. It seemed a little X-Men school to me. This is all one big season of Kevin Spacey's House of Cards, and guess how it ends for everybody? I emailed, just search for Rich Wright, please. Noted. First time super, but listen always, if you or CO or other figure out who actually did this in a legal standpoint, what's the next step? Go Max Crisis King. Thank you for what you do. Crisis King, indeed. Thank you. It's my hope that the defense team is at least aware of the amount of research being done outside so that they can begin to fold it into their work. And maybe, I'm sure some of the things we get wrong. It's natural. But the stuff that they think would benefit them, I would, be great if they would fold it in and broaden the scope so we can actually figure this thing out rather than just go up there and try to cut a plea deal. That'd be my goal. Great job tying the opening statement in today's discussion. Crystal clear and compelling. Also, the name Channel 5 News is deceptive from day one. Yeah, it's a little deceptive. Can you turn the captions when you play media? Yeah, probably. If they have them. I never thought about that. Not a bad idea. So many articles, so many actors. We're going to need opening credits to covering all the players. Have you looked into the lady filming Jacobi? I don't know who she is. If anyone knows, email me. realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. Where is it? realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. I got a little scroller down there that has it. It's got the X too. It's got the Venmo too if you want to do it. But I had to let the Real Baron podcast just roll so you guys can find it when you need it. I got a lot of problems with you people. Don't bring Festivus into this. You're such a light in a very dark time. Keep it up, Baron. I'm grateful for your input and intellect. You are Max Good Goy. Crisis King indeed. Shout out to Danks, Kelly, Jason, etc. So many small creators with great info. Yeah, Kelly found that great piece. Danks did a good job on some of the life insurance stuff. Kelly did a great piece on the little figure in white scene on the. I actually talked about that the other day on a call with Daisy and Sam. And yeah, I mean, there's so many good people. I don't want to leave people out. That's why I hate naming names, because you end up leaving people out. I'm a gamer. Conversations do not go like that. Yeah, I know. We all know. That's why I don't trust these channels like NewsNation, Channel 5, Ashley Banfield. This has been going on in the true crime community. Shouldn't Jeb have said there was blood pouring out of his neck rather than there was blood on his arms and shirt? I guess that part wasn't in the original script. If you think about it, and if the whatever took place under his shirt was supposed to initiate a chest wound, it would have made perfect sense what he was saying. Because that's been my theory, is that whatever happened under his shirt was not supposed to go into his neck, but was supposed to cause a chest wound to look like a gunshot to the chest. Ever been in a Call of Duty chat room 10 to 15 years ago, and even now, that's definitely not how gamers talk. That's correct. Anonymous. Anyone's got Lance LP number in Texas gas station in Pix? Oh, license plate number. I don't know. Bayron, here's a merch idea after yesterday's show. Shirt and stickers that say, I prefer my host in a hoodie, not a velvet suit. RBP, Crisis King. Someone made a portrait of your humble host, AI, I'm assuming, in a velvet Adidas suit. Put it on X. I would wear that. It looked awesome. Baron, right there. The interviewer just handed that over to her, as far as you know. Yeah. The interviewer, I know a lot of people like Brian Enton, so I'm not trashing him. But the interviewer did not do himself any favors. U.S. government propaganda disseminated via legacy media was authorized in 2012, Baron, in the NDAA signed by President Obama. That's what we are seeing with this and all other psyops. There have been so many. Yeah, there have. I knew that interview was an op as soon as she said that's how gamers talk. Absolute BS. Been a gamer my whole life. When messaging, we barely have a grasp on English language, and punctuation is unheard of. You mean you don't talk like a actor in the 1920s? You don't talk like you're in a in The Great Gatsby? Erika looks constipated because she's always full of doo-doo. Great opening statement. You, sir, are a great guide in many ways that impact our lives. Great work. Thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you. I appreciate your kindness. The longer, the better. I'm letting the joke go. Go, Max. You work hard to dig deep, and we appreciate it. Same sentiment there. Given where Dan Flood was standing, if the bullet had been a 30-06, do you think it would have hit Dan Flood as well? No, I don't. I think it would have gone through his neck and perhaps hit whoever was behind him, behind the tent. But Dan Flood was kind of off to the side. Baron, we appreciate every minute of your high IQ outfit. Thank you. I pray for you and the fam. Christ is King. You are going max. I'm trying. I was waiting for you to say the beef is not cheap, and beef is not cheap, after pointing out the extensive ballistic testing from Trigger Smart, Jesse on Fire, etc., further proving the TR narrative was written by Joe. It's very Joe level IQ. There's no doubt about that, the narrative. But I will say this. I don't know how many pork roasts and beef roasts and leg shanks were obliterated by guns trying to replicate what happened to Charlie Kirk's neck, but it was not a small amount of money spent on that stuff. Thomas Massey defended Sandmann right away. Yeah, he's got a good instinct. If any of your 8 are misbehaving, you should put them in solitary confinement and force them to listen to EK. Try to put a coherent sentence together. No, we don't believe in cruel and unusual punishment. It's against the 8th Amendment, and we're not going to do that. Baron Sassy, love it. Hey, am I sassy? I don't think I'm sassy. Hey, don't you think Erika would want to have that info corrected on ASU website? She earned it. Not the website, it's the program guide. And it's hidden. You have to call and ask for it. They don't just offer it. The only one that's hidden. Waterfall Canyon Academy is advertised to serve neurodiverse adolescents and young men with cognitive, social, emotional, and behavioral struggles. Yeah, we saw that. But it's ripe for programming people because of the intense one-on-one type stuff that's going on. I mentioned it before. Brian Ensign showed up at Nancy Guthrie's house and discovered blood at front door that police haven't discovered yet. He's sus. I didn't know that. It's always intrigued me when Erika Kirk said, "You know my heart" to Hunter on Town Hall, as though they know each other personally. Keep shining your light on this turd Hunter. He's so sus. Well, let's not call him a turd, shall we? But I don't know that you're wrong. Benny Johnson led the charge to have Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air. He spoke with the head of the FCC on his show about it. That's funny. Because immediately after the Charlie Kirk assassination, I was talking with a political operator, and he told me to watch out for Benny Johnson in the wake of Charlie Kirk being, what's the right way to say Charlie Kirk passing. Did you check Erika's commencement agenda for the thank you Laude? I can't believe I made it list. Christ is King. Oh, thank you Laude. No. Butch Hibbs standing behind the guy mentioning a shot happened. Yeah. That absolutely happened on the Life is Driving video. I want to say like around the 30-something minute mark, 31, 32 minute mark. Who gives a doo-doo about Hibbs? I didn't know him. LOL, don't mean anything to me. No one gives a doo-doo about Hibbs. I mean, that's not true. I think he's integral to the story. Did you see the show where he showed up with what looks like a Rode microphone in his pocket? Would the sound of electrocution go out versus the sound of a gunshot coming in? I think there was some sort of explosion under his shirt. I just do. You're never going to convince me his shirt moved like that. That amount of gas left his shirt. His shirt popped out the back like that. His hair moved as gas expanded out of the back of his shirt. That didn't happen from a gunshot. So that would have created a firecracker-like noise. if it happened. Of course, it wasn't a gunshot. I don't know anyone that would literally stand next to a guy that was slated for assassination by gunshot. A sniper could be having a bad day, off mark by a foot or more. Well, that presumes that they would have known. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but you're consistently proving to be an outstanding researcher, Barrett. It's crazy to learn about all these people I'm familiar with. I lived in Orem 20 years. You're familiar with these people? Interesting. Hey, Johnny, 2 times. Hey, Veronica, 1 time. Great show. Great show. Is this kind of like trying to convince us that George Floyd didn't OD and the cop wasn't a killer? It's the same vibe, different cast. I love y'all. This kind of like trying to convince us George didn't OD and the cop wasn't a killer. I don't know that I'm following that. Similar thing, though. The cop killed George Floyd narrative was just established so vehemently, so matter-of-factly, so early that when George Floyd's tox report comes back, no one even pays attention to it. I was in Catholic high school for Sandmann. Mom told me about it after school. I remember doubting because it was expected in the MAGA era and felt attacked through him, but agreed the video looked bad, but was definitely sus. Yeah, the video looked terrible initially. CK story like a cartoon that I'm seeing at night in my dream. Awkward Cox explanation, delivery of shooter to incarceration. The worst position is for retired cop. First or most likely to have break is in. I don't know what all that means. The only logical explanation is production and crisis actors. They need handlers explaining planning their interviews. In this case, it could be linemen. But how do they recruit these people and keep them quiet? Blackmail, NDA? Well, you wouldn't even have to blackmail them. There wouldn't have to be an NDA. You just form the narrative in their head very early on. And then you say, hey, you should talk to this lady. She's recording a video. Tell her what you saw. And you've already planted the story. And then you work with the media. So they may not even know that they're playing a role. That's the thing with the whole production. You've got actors that may not even know they're actors. You think you would have found your way to YouTube if you hadn't done the radio show? No, never in a million years. Absolutely never in a million years. Because the person who convinced me to start podcasting, seriously start podcasting, I had a lot of people suggest it, but I just never took them up on it. The person who really finally convinced me to start podcasting, it was because of the radio background. And again, you can tell if someone's comfortable behind a microphone. You can tell by watching them. How do they, does their voice change, or do they just talk like this the whole time? And do they talk fast enough? Do they sound natural, like you're just in the room with them? And you go back and listen to my early radio shows, I did not sound natural. I was very, very scared of the microphone 10, 15 years ago. I had to say F. Lloyd because YouTube wouldn't let me spell it. Wouldn't let you spell Floyd? Look after your bladder. You only have one. How do you know that? Long show is so appreciated by myself and many of us Bear Knights. Your work is admirable. Thank you. A kind word there. Love you, man. But for today, you need to zoom out. Obviously, people assume gun sound. No one immediately thinks road mic bomb. By the way, check email for Rich Ray. The emails get checked, I promise. Listen, I'm going to disagree with you, because if you had a bunch of people take to television and the immediate reaction was, that did not sound like a gunshot. I don't know what happened to him. I know he got a hole in his neck, but that did not sound like a gunshot. You would immediately plant in everyone's mind that something else happened. But if you immediately have the whole news blanketed and people on the scene saying, he got shot, 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 and everyone's saying he got shot, and the news is calling. You remember Andrew Colvit's interview where the news called him to confirm, can you confirm Charlie Kirk has been shot? I mean, what if he could say, I don't know, everybody at the scene saying it sounded like a firecracker? Like, it's a totally different story at that point. Chat, can y'all please stop telling this man what to do with the show? I don't care. I'm open to it. Thanks, love from Houston, Texas. I don't mind hearing people's feedback if they want. I don't mind listening to it. I have to do, on a lighter note, if Candace and Shapiro did a 2-hour debate, it would take 7.5 seconds. A record player on a 78-inch. Yes, I'm old. Avcath hit home. I went to Newcath. We were rivals, 77. The only thing I know about 78s is there's a line in a Jimmy Buffett song. The Ice Cream Man is a hillbilly fan. Got 78s by Hank Snow. Walks down the street shuffling his feet to a rhythm that only he knows. But I've seen him in too many places. I saw him the night I was born in a Bourbon Street bar. I received my first scar. All right, I'll stop singing the Wino and I Know. But that's the only thing I know about 78s is that line from the Wino and I Know by Jimmy Buffett. Great song, by the way. Great song. Jimmy Buffett's a goat. Baron, no need to fib. We all know you were born during World War I. I know Coach likes telling people that. I don't mind playing the role of the elder statesman of the group. I know podcasting's a young man's game, and I'm coming here with a mostly gray beard. I get it. Wrinkles around the eyes. Trust me, I know what's going on. I get it. I like to tell him I'm more experienced. The next Shah of Iran equals Habibi Netanyahu. It's pretty clear he has rigged our system effectively and thoroughly, sadly, and no doubt Charlie's hit. I thought it was interesting because they said they wanted regime change. They kill the Ayatollah. They announce a new one, and now they're trying to kill him. Like, have we talked to him? Do we know what his goals are? What if he's like, oh, everything's good, stop. No, we're just going to keep killing people. Off topic, I missed the live until now for a soccer banquet, but I wanted to encourage people to watch Father Chad Ripperberger on Sean Ryan today. It was so powerful. Christ is King. I like Father Chad Ripperberger. I didn't know he was on Sean Ryan today. I'll check it out. What are your thoughts on Erika's family linked to so much gambling corruption, including the 1919 Black Sox scandal, Arnold Rothstein being the kingpin, allegedly? Thank you for all you do. Arnold Rothstein is not a blood relative of Erika Kirk. I don't think. I'm pretty sure he's not, which would make his relatives not. So I don't know what to make. 3 to 4 hours is great. I hate it when Candace ends her shows after 35 to 70 minutes. Hugs, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Well, doesn't she end all of them before 70 minutes, or most of them? Hendersonville, Tennessee. I know where that is. It's just up the road. That's the home of Joseph Newgarden, Indy 500 winner, multi-time IndyCar champion, Joseph Newgarden. Also the home of Johnny Cash, I believe. Didn't he live in Hendersonville? But Bear Run, UNCO are the reason I'm sleep deprived. I live in South Africa. Cannot miss you guys. CO show at 12:30 a.m., followed by yours. It is 4:54 a.m. now. Still watching. Sleeper, no sleep, longer a word of sleep, no longer a word of my vocabulary. My friend, you're working the third shift. You're working the podcast third shift. How to win friends and influence people could be dangerous in the hands of a narcissist. I don't know about that. It's got a lot of built-in safeguards. Send TPUSA fundraiser form back with questions for Erika in extra section. That way they're all connected. The way they're all connected is just beyond madness. Yeah, it's just weird. At this point, could create a daily calendar. 365 lies told by Erika Kirk. You'd need 2 years. How do you feel about the message Gary put on X today about you? I don't pay attention to Gary. I had no idea he put it. All he wants is attention. All he wants is attention. If I address it, if I pay attention to it, that's what he wants. I don't even know how to find him. I don't see anything. I see nothing about me. Oh, I see. Oh. He should be getting ethics complaints filed with the Florida bar. He knows he's lying. He's making a lot. That's ludicrous. If you're going to file ethics complaint, do it. I got 3 bars you can file with. Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, file away. I had somebody that was frustrated with something I said on the air in Alabama and filed an ethics complaint. And there are sanctions associated, ladies and gentlemen, if you file a meritless complaint. So I'll be happy to pursue that again if someone wants to go that route. People in other chats said we were super chatting in ciphers because the capitalization we use to save of spaces to save money. Please don't talk in cipher and coordinate things. Please. Learned Sublime today myself and one of my favorite bands in high school. You are not alone. Thank you. I knew it was a cool word. I just didn't know exactly what it meant. Lots of love and prayers from Oklahoma. That was a cool play, Oklahoma. Baron, love what you and all the others are doing with this investigation, but if we aren't using the legal system to push the feds to do their job, isn't it just entertainment? Crisis King, go Max. Crisis King indeed. Yeah, we are pushing the feds to do their job, right? Well, it's a state investigation. I think the feds have kind of wiped their hands of it after they had a roll. They had a roll like everybody else. Hats off, Sir Baron. Wow, you just keep killing every time. What a show. What a high IQ entertainment outfit for subs. Thank you for your hard work. Very interesting. Gary, are you listening? Are you listening, Gary? I think Gary's mad because he like lobs volleys at me and I don't respond, and I think it bothers him. But I don't respond because I don't punch down. I don't punch down. You know, if someone with 1 million views a night punching at me, I might punch back. Probably still won't because I don't like getting involved in those creator spats. But I would at least be intrigued. But Gary getting mad that the show is successful, that's a weird thing to punch back at. Yo, this isn't a fast food drive-thru. It's a 5-star restaurant, and subs have high IQ appetite. Pace, don't change a thing, counselor. Crisis King indeed. I will not change a thing. Everyone thought it was a firework. Proof it was Erika. Oh my gosh, that is great. You just slayed me. That is hilarious. That is very funny. Well played. Golly, well played. That is so good. Everyone thought it was a firework. Was she wearing a gold glitter suit? Some kind of group show in celebration of how Charlie has continued to create friendships, but you guys having fun. Some kind of group show in celebration. I don't know what that means, but we'll keep having fun and we'll keep forming friendships. No doubt about that. Please do the members chat at 1. I'll be on my lunch break. Any researcher on Jeb's parents might give some insight as to why he's in Utah. Yeah, we have insight into Jeb's parents for sure. And grandparents, as a matter of fact. It's interesting, some of it. Not finalized, not ready for production, but yes, the answer is yes. If Erika ever sent you her degree, you should hang it on your wall. I've got space. Hey, if Erika sends me her degree, I will move the Aztec calendar and put it right there so it hangs over me. Erika, not only will we sit coach next to each other, I'll sit in the middle. I told you last night I would make you sit in the middle. I will not. Your next 2 trips are on me. I will buy your tickets if you will fly coach. Leave the Gulfstream 5 at home. Leave the Cessna Citation at home. We're flying coach. We're going Southwest, baby. We're going budget. We're flying Spirit. I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about these places. They might be fine airlines. Not done with part 1 and not seen this one yet, but Alexandra Helene Kozak on the same page as Erika in grad list. Any relation? I'm behind if this is old news. I don't know if there's a relation or not. That's a good call, though. I have not come across the name Alexandra in this, so it might just be. God is good. Christ is king. Jesus loves you all. Christ king indeed. Yeah, Jesus loves you. We'll be talking about that here before too terribly long. Oh my gosh, you didn't use spaces. I'm coming in for the kill here. Kozak and his group had been banned from CK events early. Report showed Destiny and others in their org sneaking past security at other CK events. Odd how Kozak was then approved. Yes, I could not agree more. That's a good call. And we need to dig into that a little more. And I need to dig into your use of spacing. Looking forward to my first member show tomorrow, and thank you. Looking forward to my first member show tomorrow, and thank you. I can't tell if you guys make mistakes when you say things twice, or you're just making fun of me because I say everything twice. Lyman saying boom, boom was practice, making sure the kid knew how to respond. It was only one shot. Also, 30-6 didn't exit MLK. We've talked about the MLK thing. Go look up the facts. Totally different scenario. Charlie Kirk's alleged bullet hit very soft tissue that only has about 2 inches of soft tissue behind it. Martin Luther King's hit like 5 bones, tore off the side of his face, tore his neck in half, and busted bones in his chest and shoulder. Totally different scenario. That is absolutely totally different scenario. A lot of these people showed up in the Google Trends. I'm going to have to clean that up later. We didn't have time to get into all that. A lot of these people showed up in Google Trends overseas in the months leading up to this. So there's more coming. It's just, how much can you do in one day, you know? My daughter's home from Auburn watching you for the first time. War Eagle. War Eagle. Notice the Auburn pennant hanging here. Show your daughter. Had a great time at Auburn, but I've been gone a long time. Actually, I was on the air in Auburn in 2020. I think I had a radio show in Auburn in 2020. I think that was the year. Can't remember the call letters. It was 93.1. No, 93.1 was a different market. It was 93.9, I think. 93.9 in Auburn. F1 over NASCAR every day of the week. You're a troll, and I love it. Me? Ad Fleet. Guilty as charged. I'm not a troll. There's a book called The Titan, circa 18. A book called The Titan, circa 1895, about the sinking of the luxury ship that was unsinkable. Hit an iceberg and sank. Didn't have enough lifeboats to approximately 20 years before the Titanic sank. I did an opening on the Titanic not terribly long ago, and several commenters raised that book. Thanks for all you guys are doing, Crisis King. Crisis King, indeed. Thanks for watching. You know, without you guys, we don't have much of a show. Baron, great show tonight as usual. If I ever get in trouble, I certainly wished you would still be an attorney. However, I'm 76 years old and probably won't ever get into trouble. I hope not at 76. My goodness. What would a 76-year-old do to get in trouble? What would you even do? Like jaywalk? And even then, it might not be too fast. Maybe that's how you get caught. You're not fleeing the scene, surely. You're about to have this in the bag. Crisis King, Crisis King, Crisis King indeed, Crisis King indeed. Thank you. I don't like war merch, please. This concept is lost on too many Americans these days. Great work as always, Baron Gomax. Yeah, the bloodthirsty Facebook and Twitter posts are a little much for me. What if I told you the left wing and right wing are both a part of the bird? Time for us all to see it's evil versus good. There's a lot of emojis there. I can't see those. Was live when luckily 1 hour later. But Baron's still broadcasting. Thank you for doing what you want to do. Because now I have 100% capability to send you this. Thank you. I watch yours and others at least 2 times. Oh, 2 times a lot of Baron. But I admit, sometimes I have to watch Candace twice to catch everything. First time using Super Chats, but I wanted to let you know that you have helped me so much. I've been struggling hard the last few months, but I find happiness while watching you. So thank you, Baron. Oh, thank you. Destiny May. Thank you. And I'm sorry you're struggling. I hope you can get that worked out. B. UCO both talked about by Janet Smith positively on Catholic Unscripted last night. So many trolls, they put the episode behind a paywall. Really? I like Janet Smith. I've known about her for years. We first encountered Janet Smith in 2007 or 8 at our church. So the parish we went to had a, I don't remember what it was, but it was this like giant easel, and it had all these places for CDs. This is back when CDs were a thing. And you could take a CD and you just put $1 or $2 into the donation portal, and then if you brought it back, you could grab another one, just kind of trade them out. And Janet Smith was one of them. And it was a pro-life CD, and we passed it around and let people listen to it and all that. But I like Janet Smith. I like Janet Smith a lot. I can't watch it because it's behind a paywall, you say, but you never mentioned if Charlie had a white tattoo, because I don't know. I don't think he did, but I don't know. I remember telling my husband Charlie was just shot. They've killed him. He asked who. Now I know that it was playing in my head. Yeah, someone told you he was shot. That's part of the production, in my opinion. My mom got me the CK book for my birthday. She doesn't know what we know, but in the beginning, there was a foreword by EK, had an acknowledgement to Rob McCoy and David Englehart. Interesting, eh? What's interesting is Rob McCoy's fallen off the face of the earth. You notice that? We started digging into his old sermons, and he stopped going out in public. He was everywhere for a little while. And then we started going hard after him, and he disappeared off the planet. That guy is nowhere to be found, nor his son. He's smart. That doesn't mean I'm done with him. I watched 12 years worth of Rob McCoy sermons. I got all the way back to 2010 with that guy. Bayron Glitterbits finally said the quiet part out loud, and you cut her off. This is much deeper than one person. Thanks for what you do. Go back. Glitterbits. That's what we're calling her now. I prefer to call her the little firecracker. The glitter bits. We don't want bits. Your now empty picture draped in black shows you that you mourn the demise of DJT so much more than EK's ever mourned CK. Christ is King. Yeah, I do mourn what happened. There was so much hope there. You go back to 2015, 2016, there was so much hope for Donald Trump. And it's not what we voted for. How do you deal with Christian family members who say Shabbat Shalom on the daily? Do we just try not to engage? Don't fight with your family. I mean, I wouldn't fight with my family over that. I mean, you pick your battles with family. Family's important. Don't. 1 year sober. Wow. Allegedly, maybe, and perhaps. Now, are you allegedly, maybe, and perhaps 1 year sober, or are you 1 year sober? Congratulations, by the way. 365 days is a heck of an accomplishment. March 5th will be an anniversary date, hopefully for you, for many years to come. I hope you celebrate it annually without booze. Cracks me up every time. I don't know what that means. Enjoy your show. God bless. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know what it means if I don't know what it means. Response too late for today, but I will respond with 2 sentences proving Earth flat. Weather, GPS, celestial navigation, mapping, building, flight, including the globe Earth model. Every measurement requires a flat Earth. I've looked into it. Like, I fell deep into the hole, not because I thought it was flat, just because I was curious of the arguments. So I dug and dug. I read, I listened, I watched. I left unconvinced. Hi, Baron. Faded Crimson hoodie is definitely your best color. Wow. Talking about the hamburger meat hoodie? I'm talking about the rare prime rib hoodie, the bean paste hoodie, the kidney bean colored hoodie. Brings out your warm skin tones and makes you look younger. Might want to consider that as a wall color. I don't need mauve walls. This isn't 1984. Thank you and God bless. But thank you for the kind compliments. Wow. Gifted 10 memberships. 10 of you guys are going to have a good time tomorrow. Gary was complaining about you making $12,500 in 4 days with super chats. I don't think I did. I'm pretty confident I didn't. He forgets several things. One is YouTube takes a huge cut. But the other thing, I don't think that math adds up, because that certainly was not reflected in the stats. I can assure you of that. But tell Gary to be a better podcaster, and people might want to donate and interact with him and support him. When will we see you and Tucker Carlson do an interview and podcast together? I've not been invited, and I've not invited him on my show, but I don't know that he would come on. I've not been invited on his show. I'd love to do Tucker Carlson. He's a big, like, I don't love everything he's ever said, but I love his heart. I think his heart is in the right place 99 times out of 100. And if someone's heart's in the right place, I feel like I can get along with them almost any time. Right makes sense. If it was to happen under his shirt, Erika's comment would make sense. She said in an interview, I asked him to wear a bulletproof vest. Yeah. Did she ask him to wear a bulletproof vest? I thought they canceled that contract and switched vendors or something. I was just responding to Frank Turk about Hibbs, and Hibbs arrived to visit Charlie or something that was supposed to mean to me. LOL. Or something that's supposed to mean to me. Well, I hate to just say this because I don't know what that means. And Hibbs arrived to visit Charlie. Yeah. So the story is that Butch Hibbs was just dying to meet Charlie. And he just happened to show up with a Rode microphone-sized square in his pocket, for whatever reason. Witnesses Tiffany Barker and nieces Elle Steele and Mia Grant speak out. These people are related to Phil Lyman. 100%. Sent you an email with receipts. Yeah, again, we could have played interviews all day. The point was just to show that the connections between all these people. When I get to the Phil Lyman show, we'll talk more about the family related to Phil Lyman and their roles as well. We're not quite there yet. Maybe Firecracker was from the van trunk. Trunk open, set off Firecracker with trunk up to amplify sound, and then trunk shut. I've never bought the trunk, having much involvement. I don't know why. It's kind of like palm gun to me. It's just not something I put much stock into. I don't know what the trunk would be doing. And so I'm left with no role for the trunk. And that's kind of where I am on that. But I'm open to learning more about Trunkgate. Trunkgate. First time listener, first time caller. Thank you for your bravery. I'll be watching more. Get up and pee if you have to. Oh, Dixon, if this is your first time, you have no idea how badly I have to pee at the end of these shows. And you have no idea how hard the nurses and doctors take it that I don't. Baron, your show is perfect, including layout and timing. Thank you. Finally. Thank you. Someone who gets it. I get it. A viewer can stop watching at any time. Just watch opening statement, main content. Don't stay for the chats. Jeez. Yeah, that's my thing. Pick what you like. If you like the Q&A, watch that. If you like the content, watch that. If you like the opening, watch that. If you like it all, you're welcome to hang around with the rest of us. Repeat a lie long enough and people will eventually believe it. But I think even more importantly, repeat it early enough. That's the key to tonight and last night. You repeat the lie early enough, you plant the lie as fact, even though it's not. So it's a combination there. I'm with you on the palm pistol, but what if it was a cap, gun, or blank to make the sound only? It wasn't. There's nothing in his hand. And not only that, the hand moves after the sound. Christ in our midst, says a grumbler. In our midst. Whoa, $100 grumbler. Shoes and socks with wigs and philosophical words and phrases. Everybody else is saying weird things tonight, so I figured I'd do the same. Amazing work you and Daisy are doing. Yeah, Daisy's a goat. I don't understand that first part, but I understand what you're saying. Everybody else is saying weird stuff. So I will allow the weirdness for now. Great show, Baron. Prayers for you and your family from South Texas, specifically McAllen. Do I know where McAllen is? Are you near a military base down there? On your out, remember to hit that like button. Yes. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. How many? Where are we in a respectable number of likes? Or are we still the dregs of like society here? A pathetic number of likes. You know, I like to chastise you towards the end of the show about the likes. Come on, hit the like button. It's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Helps the algorithm push the show out to others so that they can be educated. First time super chat. Anyone else starting to feel like this is a reverse psyop? How can this be such a sloppy op? Well, that's interesting. Tyler Robinson's team needs special prosecutor Baron Coleman. Geez, what are they doing? I don't want to be, special prosecutor. I'd be on the other side. I'd be prosecuting Tyler Robinson. Don't want to do that. I don't think he's guilty of shooting anyone. You've missed my super chats last 2 nights, but I have to say Shabbat Shalom. Baron, our humble host, is home. But don't throw your phone in a drawer because there's far, far more to this story and we need you on the case. I've not missed them on purpose. My wife told me I missed a couple last night that I pulled it up and I went past it. Like I pulled it back down. I went past. I didn't mean to. I do sometimes get, when we're pushing 4+ hours, I'll sometimes have to skip a few to get through it. Thank you. Great show. Christ is King. Christ is King indeed. You're welcome. Thank you for the compliment. Only 3,639 days until Barron might talk about Butler. You said a while about if we're still here in a decade, you might talk to us, but you're waiting. Yeah, I'll go ahead and set that show for a decade out. There might be a slight delay after that. Like the show, people, I'll be in Pleasant View, Tennessee next Thursday through Monday. Suggestions for the area? I got to figure out where that is. Pleasant View, Tennessee. Sounds beautiful. Where is Pleasant View? Oh, Cheatham County. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to make it into Nashville at all. It's a beautiful area up there. You're kind of near Clarksville up that way. I don't really have any thoughts on that particular area. I don't know much about it. You look like you're 30 minutes, 40 minutes from Nashville up there. Good luck. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Roll that beautiful bean footage. No one would ever dare make fun of the elderly, sir. I would not. I hope to join them one day. Did you hear about F1 connection to Epstein? I did not. I did not. How about interview with Chris Martinson, Peak Prosperity on Members Show? He's great. Lots of issues. It's not CK. Think you'd enjoy. I don't know. I know him. I mean, I've covered his work. But I'm not familiar enough with it to know what we would do for a whole show. Someone's saying that Liam might have been on KTL Channel 5 and not just the podcast Channel 5. If so, they got past me. I'm not trying to hide the ball there. I think Chris Martinson's done a good job with some of his coverage. I don't watch like intently everything he puts out, so I don't know that I would be the best interviewer of Chris Martinson. I'd have to do a lot of prep for that because he puts out a lot of content, I think. I saw an Auburn license plate that said WGL, WGL. Thought of you. Weagle, Weagle. War Darn Eagle. Kick him in the hiney, Big Blue. Podcasts aren't long enough. My coworkers still won't even consider there being something different than Charlie Kirk being shot. Your coworker is not alone. There are a lot of people like that. Totally off topic. Please don't chastise me for this. I'll be the judge of whether you get chastised. Here we go. I have counsel, but we are in need of input for a case for the MO. Missouri Supreme Court. May I email you for your input? No, I don't know anything about Missouri law. Although I did try, I didn't try a case in Missouri. I had a client in Missouri, but the case ended up settling. I had to go to Springfield, Missouri for some depositions. It was a cool drive. I drove over there. How did Jeb Jacobi get a selfie with Charlie Kirk half an hour before the Big Bang if Charlie Kirk only got to UVU minutes after being driven down from Salt Lake City? That's a good question. His timing may have just been off because Charlie Kirk, after he got there, did get out and take some pictures with some of the volunteers. And we know that because Charles Wilson, what's his name? Charles McClintock Wilson. He took pictures of Charlie Kirk taking pictures. It was kind of an inception moment. Benjamin Netanyahu, worst U.S. president ever. Also, really ready and willing to pay for your assessments and suggestions off the record. I'm not going to consult on a legal case in Missouri. I don't know enough about it. The Bible is enough to convince me the earth is set and does not move, but his handiwork continued to prove this. Bless you, Christ is King. Christ is King indeed. I'm not disputing the Bible. I just am not convinced by the flat earth. I kind of miss Rob the Sailor Man. I do too. We may do a Rob McCoy show soon. We need to look closer at him. I would love to see you have Catherine Austin Fitz on a members. I'd like to get her on a members. She'd be a great guest. Are you sure Paula White isn't EK's mom? No, I'm not. I'm not at all sure she's not EK's mom. That's a weird thought. Guys, I've enjoyed it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, tell your friends and family, share it out. Give them something specific to watch. Say, hey, look at our 1 hour, 5 minutes, 32 seconds. Watch for 10 minutes. Give them something specific to watch. Share it around. I think they'll enjoy it. You follow me on X at Baron Coleman. You can listen on Spotify if you missed the show. It's a great way to catch up. Obviously, the grumblers are over there. If you ever want to grumble, we love you, grumblers. I'm not talking bad about you over there. I do keep them in a corner over because they get out of control sometimes. I'll be back tomorrow for the member show at 1 o'clock. Roughly 1 o'clock. It might be 1:30, it might be 2, but it'll probably be around 1 or 2, somewhere in there. Central Standard Time. I'll be up a little late tonight watching some Formula One, and then we'll launch into the show tomorrow. Sunday night, we'll be back. I'm working on a show that I think will be interesting if I can nail down all the facts. If not, I'm not going to cover something that I'm not sure about. So we'll have to get there for that. In the meantime, don't forget, Jesus loves you. All right, guys, have a good night. I hope to see you soon. Members, I will be here tomorrow. 1-ish. We'll get weird because that's what we do. Maybe 2-ish. But we'll get weird. I promise you, we'll get weird.